Shakara, ha, Shakara, ha, Shakara, ha, Shakara, ha, Shakara.
And we are live once again from a lye-filled bathtub in an abandoned office building. This is the Library of Mass Destruction. I'm your host, Capitalisimo, and joining me as usual is Christopher Sandbatch. How are you doing today, sir?
This is maybe the worst I have ever been.
The worst you've ever been?
It's certainly since we've started doing this. I don't know, like Randall Shirker over here with the $5 super chat. Thank you for sneaking your super chat, Randall Shirker.
Yes, thank you.
Says, man, anyone else looking forward to today's DDD session after the back-to-back calling out of people over the woman in recent events? Me, on the other hand, I was just going about my business Saturday night, and I made one of my normal Grateful Dead themed posts, and somebody hopped into my comments and said, R.I.P. Bob Weir. And I have crashed out totally over the way because he was my hero. Like, if there was somebody who could be said to be C. Sandbatch's hero, it was Bob Weir, and he's dead. And I'm not handling it well. But what's sort of interesting, though, is that, you know, the Grateful Dead phenomenon fascinates me. Like, you know, I'm here on this show because of my
you were DDD'd by the Grateful Dead.
Ultimately, yeah. It was my interest in MKUltra and in the parapolitical subject dovetails exactly with frankly, my membership in this cult that is the cult of the Grateful Dead. And it was, you know, it was a really tough one for me. But one of the things that fascinates me, again, I'm a millennial. Okay, so I guess I got into the Dead probably 2006 and 2007 or something like that, which is actually several years before their resurgence in popularity. So, like, I mean, I got into the boomer hippie shit before everybody else did. And like, they were just like a bunch of drunks, like playing like one-off shows every now and then whenever I first started going to see them. And then they sort of like remorphed back into like arguably the most how worn out is my copy of Tom Wolfe's Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test? Well, I tell you, Black Maria, back in New York City, I'm even known as something of a dude, is the first line of the second chapter of Tom Wolfe's The Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test, which is his.
Speaking of Black Maria, I'll tell you who's not black. Randall Shirker, because he would know that Kool-Aid was spelled with a K.
Right? Yes. But anyway, yeah, no. But so I've been around the Dead scene for a while. And one of the things in the last couple of years have been really rough for us because, like, these dudes are old and they keep dying. Okay, you know, and I made it through Phil Lesh dying without having
rough for us, but they're the ones dying.
Yes. And every time it happens, actually, it didn't happen when Phil died, but Bob Weir it's a much bigger death. Like, in the world of rock and roll musicians, like probably the only person left to die of similar stature are probably Paul McCartney and Bob Dylan. It's kind of how big Bob Weir had become over the years. But the thing that people always bring up is the MKUltra thing.
Well, I love how you just did not acknowledge Ringo Starr.
Does anybody ever, you know, he was the drummer, you know.
You didn't like Rocky Raccoon?
I like my favorite Ringo Starr song is actually Octopus's Garden. It's like,
great.
You know, and I've even put it on when we were doing the show in the background. I'm like, I'd like to be bum 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 under the sea, but bum bum bum. You know, it's great. All of them are basically CIA assets. Okay, that's the thing that gets brought up, and everybody's like, I would like to point out Creationist Front, who runs an incredible. He runs an incredible Substack. He doesn't publish very often on it, but he's one of the good guys. But this is the thing that differentiates me from the parapolitics crowd. Like, people will always tell me you're a parapolitics person, and I am not. I am adjacent to
Sounds like something a
MKUltra.
parapolitics person would say.
But they're also paranoid about MKUltra.
Adjacency to parapolitics is adjacency to MKUltra is the essence of parapolitics.
Yeah, that's true. But like, you all have problems with it. And Creationist Front here, though, says the actual scandal of parapolitics is that spooks can make good art. And this is an issue for people who hold certain metaphysical ideals about art. And I would say that Bill, our good friend Bill, who runs Farthest Heaven, points out also this is a natural extension of the argument against right-wingers and left-wingers that can't make art, which is not only wrong, but also misses the point about art and its production. Bill is never wrong about anything. He's great.
I once had a pseudonym that was Parappa the Rappa Politics.
But okay, the thing about me, and this is what the Grateful Dead thing did to me, was I had to learn to love the bomb. Okay, and this is why I point out, like, I have a slightly different reaction to Jolly West than you all do, because I'm like, and it's the Dead thing, because I have to look at this, and I have to look at this subculture, frankly, for lack of a better word.
My reaction, by the way, has shifted to shocked admiration.
Yeah, you're on your way to where we're at now, man. You know, the bus is coming by here soon. But the thing that I have to look at this world. Like, and you know, people will shit on the Dead or whatever. People will shit on the Dead, on the music for being bad. And I would argue that if you don't like the music, you probably don't really. And there are not many people that play music that don't like the Dead's music, and I'll leave it at that. But the thing that I have to look at is that over the course, this is the actual subculture probably started in 1972. And if you look at the world since 1972, and what it has become, and the dissolution of all culture, the dissolution of the monoculture that has held the United States together. If you look at that, and then you go back and you look at the subculture surrounding this band, and you kind of have to, if you follow the idea that it's MKUltra, then you have to be like, God damn, CIA, you did a good job on this one. Because still, I mean, one of the last times I saw them, it was at Jazz Fest, and it was because they did a rare show in New Orleans, and because it was a Jazz Fest, you know, we got Chocolate City, you know, New Orleans, Chocolate City, you know, and they sent a little Tulane reporter out. She was a young black woman. She was a young black woman. Black woman. And very clearly her goal was to trash this show, was to be like, yeah, it's just a bunch of old white dudes standing in a circle. And she started off that way. But it was incredible over the course of reading this blog post where she even pointed out, she was like almost all of these dudes, almost all of the people at the show are white. It's not dudes. It's like, this is something. Oh, this is a white people thing. This is very clearly a white people thing. And she really clearly wanted to wanted to leap on that with swords. But as she was standing there listening to the music play, and the actual experience of seeing them live is very, I mean, I shouldn't say, because you're not ever going to be able, it's gone. It's over now.
This is your personal black person listens to white person's song for the first time.
There are some literal great fucking black people listen to a Grateful Dead song for the first time videos. It's like it's a good genre of black people listen to for the first time videos. But again, she started pointing out, she was like, about a halfway through this show, it started to become apparent that there's something more going on here, you know, and she left with maybe not admiration, but more like, it's very difficult to experience a Grateful Dead show and then go back to posting about how white people have no culture, because it is very clearly a culture, and it is very clearly white. And whether or not the CIA was involved here, I don't give a fuck. I used to care. I used to be bothered by that. Like, the guy who wrote the book that we're doing now has the Laurel Canyon book too, and like, that sort of thing used to bother me, and I'm like, fuck, I don't care. Music's incredible. And all of the people who listen to it are the nicest people that I've ever met. So like, good job, CIA. That's pretty, the whitest culture, the whitest culture remaining in the world is that which was created by the CIA. And that's why of all of the organizations, the law enforcement organizations, so on and so forth, I also always point out the CIA has never done me wrong. The other ones have. The CIA has never done me wrong. But yeah, that's how I'm doing. Bob Weir's dead. Sucks.
Rest in peace, Bob Weir. Bob Weir is a weird name, is an unusual name because it's very fishing related, right? Because he's basically fishing equipment.
Yeah,
because he's a bobber, and then a weir is sort of a stepped sort of funnel in a stream to direct all of the fish.
I'm proud of you for knowing what that is. That's a great English word.
Well, you have never visited. Have you ever visited an eel weir in the west country?
Yes, I have.
Yes, they're very nice, and a good eel pie was had. Most people don't know this, but eels are migratory.
I love jellied eels. I love raw eel. I'm a big fan of eel, actually.
I'm going to be eating a shitload of eel very soon.
What for?
I'm going to be traveling to a place known for its eel.
You're going to England?
I am not.
Yeah, this narrows it down.
Yeah, it sure does. But then again, all right. So I feel like there was something I was going to say. Oh yeah, sorry, chat.
That bitch got hit by a car too. We didn't talk about Maduro last week, and we're not talking about that bitch.
Yeah, we did. We did very slightly.
Yeah.
She didn't get hit by a car.
Yeah, I know.
She got hit in a car.
She got hit in
Yeah. I mean, the gay ops continue in the streets of Minneapolis. It's a real pride parade. It's a real pride parade.
Dude, I have I had to go. I've only been to Minnesota twice. I've had to go to Minnesota for not good reasons either. I had to go for a fraternity brother's funeral one time, and then another adjacent thing. And one of the things that I've again, this could come back to the dead thing though. I am psychotically devoted to California in the abstract. So I will never say California is the most fucked up state in the country. And as a result, over the course of my life, I've come to the conclusion that the most fucked states in the country are Minnesota and Wisconsin. I don't understand.
Why Wisconsin?
Them. Oh, Wisconsin's an ex-girlfriend thing. But
okay.
But
the Sybil of the Midwest.
That's what I call. Well, I called her the Sybil of Austin because she was living in Austin at the time. I knew her. But the Minnesota is fucked. It's fucked. Everything about it is fucked. And it starts with their weird legal code where in Florida. We're in Florida and in Louisiana and other southern states. We have these things. We have castle doctrine, first of all. We have stand your ground laws and all this. There are all these very clear scenarios in which law enforcement officers or whoever else can open fire without.
I think also Indiana actually I think has the strongest castle doctrine in the country.
Yeah. Indiana's got good laws. But there is this thing, there's this thing where like Minnesota is like so Byzantine and labyrinthine with respect to how they go about even defining anything legally that it becomes quite difficult to tell. And so we always have to go through the fucking hellscape. And then of course they've got their insane, crazy governor who's like laundering money to Somali terrorists. And like, what the fuck?
Why is he doing this? Because they said they would stop fucking his wife if he didn't.
Yeah. And then of course this woman was a poet. Sort of.
Oh God!
It's a real stretch.
In the same way that all women who couldn't possibly ever write. She was one of those people who's like, I'm a poet because she finds prose to be too challenging, and instead she decides to write several sentence fragments and call it a poem.
You know, that is like, I find that horrifically offensive for obvious reasons.
Who was it? Amanda Gorman.
Oh my God, that was the one that really tipped me over the edge.
The Poetrix laureate.
Is that what she is?
I mean, she gave the speech at she was the poet laureate. Yeah, she also gave the speech for Biden's inauguration. The hills we climb. Yeah, it was very bad.
Do we have a poet laureate right now? Is that a thing that we have?
I don't know. Stephen Miller's posts.
Let's see. Let's actually check.
That would be a great thing to
somehow have. There's like zero chance Donald Trump has gotten around to naming a poet laureate.
Johnny Walt for $5. Thanks, buddy. U-Haul is now a measure of crushing forces expended over distance, pounds per feet per second. Nice.
This guy Arthur SZE is his name. Let's look him up.
So it should be Ezra Pound. That should be
it's like he's Chinese or some shit. One of those like SZE has got to be a Chinese name. American poet, translator, editor, and professor. He is the 25th poet laureate of the United States of America. Since 1972,
your Ching Chong accent is catastrophic.
I try to do it as badly as I possibly can.
Amazing.
So thank you, Donald Trump, for nominating a based white dude as poet laureate. You could have gone. You could. Oh, he did. He has published with Copper Canyon, which is kind of cool. However, for the purposes of Library of Mass Destruction, the poet laureate of the United States is Tom Will.
That's right. Poet laureate of the United States, Tom Will. We'll do it. We'll do it next. We'll do it when one of our guys wins. We'll make sure it happens. It'll be C. Sandbatch. All right.
I am gonna. If you actually want to go there, my book is coming out on the 20th. So that'll be.
Wow, that's soon. All right.
Look, I do things real fast. When I do things, I do them real fast.
Well,
that's what she said.
Except you said that you had a book coming out for the last 9 months.
Right. Yeah. Well, I did. But did you know? Okay, just like doing one thing at a time.
But not this one.
Yeah, this is not the one that I said was coming. This is the other one. When you're writing one book is a process. Writing two complicates the process drastically, and then if you do like I do, and then go, oh yeah. Now there's a third one. So there's a third one that's done now as well. And now I'm restricting new projects until the e-girl novel gets written, because that one's cool, and actually people might want to read it. It's funny because I'm like these are all books that I don't expect anybody to want to read because they're poetry.
Does one read poetry? I feel like when I'm reading poetry, I have to actually recite it. In order to, I have to read it aloud with intonation in order to enjoy it.
This is the kind that this one that's coming out first is it's called La Fièvre et les Humeurs, the fevers and the humors. It is actually it's a pretty straightforward book. The other one, the one that I was going to publish first, it's decidedly more avant-garde, and I decided that I needed. I don't think
you get to say that something I don't think you get to say avant-garde about yourself.
I totally do.
I don't think anyone does.
The problem is that the people who would normally be the capable judges of what is avant-garde have abandoned their posts entirely. So we have to do it ourselves.
You're right. Tookie's Mag has not had an episode of the Sidebar in months. So that's our word. All right. Okay. Chapter 12, Satan's family tree. We know he was created by God. He doesn't have parents. That's it. The end. Okay. Satan's family tree. The devil can get into people and cause them to do things they wouldn't otherwise. Herbert Mullen speaking to a Bible study class. Well, they were They were well advised, I guess. In New York City in 1875, Madame Helena Petrovna Blavatsky founded the Theosophical Society, an occult-based group that survives to this day. Kind of doesn't arguable. That supplied much of the ideology of Hitler's Third Reich. Okay, all right, McGowan. All right, we're off to a bad start with David.
There's a lot wrong going. There's so many things wrong there.
Theosophy supplies the modern understanding of religion, and it supplied the catalog of the quote unquote world religions.
Oh man, we're doing Blavatsky today.
Yeah, Blavatsky.
You're gonna be so mad. You're gonna be so mad by the end of the day.
I like how you've got a mouthful of burrito, don't you?
No, it's Chinese food today.
Okay, all right. We'll get that cat off your upper lip, and we'll be ready. Okay. Over the course of the next decade and a half, Blavatsky published ISIS Unveiled and The Secret Doctrine, two literary works that have proven to be hugely influential in many succeeding generations of modern Satanists and white supremacists. Satanists do have very little to read in Blavatsky, actually. She was ardently anti-Luciferian. As author Peter Levenda has written, Blavatsky popularized the notion of a spiritual struggle between various races. This is true.
When did this book come out?
This one, 2005, I think.
So this is before, excuse me, this is before the Alexander Dugin stuff got big.
Yeah.
That would have been around 2011 was when Glenn Beck started talking about Alexander Dugin. But so okay, interesting.
Let me double check on Program to Kill. It was first published, August 2004. So
this dude's a boomer, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, spiritual struggle between various races and of the inherent superiority of the Aryan race, hypothetically the latest in the line of spiritual evolution. This belief in Aryan supremacy was echoed by philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who during the same time frame posited the existence of an Aryan Superman and advocated racial genocide. Both things that Nietzsche did not do.
Yeah, it's like, just show me on the doll where Nietzsche said any of that. I see that cited everywhere. I see shit like that cited everywhere. Like, my niggas out there in listener land, if you decide to quote Nietzsche in your book and you quote him improperly, I am going to stop reading right there, and I'm going to immediately start making fun of you on Library of Mass Destruction. Like, if you're gonna bring,
it's just like how Nietzsche said Heil Hitler. Let's see. Nietzsche's work was liberally borrowed from by the architects of Nazi Germany. One of Blavatsky's most devout followers was instrumental in introducing to Western Europe the infamous Protocols of the Elders of Zion, this notorious document, which more or less accurately identified the existence of an ultra-secret cabal bent on global domination and the subjugation of the world's people, identified this game plan as a grand Jewish conspiracy, thereby fueling the rabid anti-Semitism that served to stabilize the fascist states of Europe.
This is all not true. None of this is true.
I like how he doesn't mention who did the protocols.
What it's like, first of all,
because it's not actually known.
I read the Protocols of the Elders of Zion actually last weekend for the first time ever, because like I ran into like some like clipper that was like just like in like San Diego or something that was like drinking a beer and talking. I was like, I'm gonna read these things, and I found them I didn't find them very convincing, but I was like, yeah, I could see why this would be. I can see why people would find this really compelling. But I would also point out that anti-Semitism is not something that would be considered, that was something that was used to buttress or stabilize the Central European states. It was something that they all already felt. And it emerged after the regimes were stabilized, you know?
Randall Shirker says, personally, I'd laugh if this was a Jewish author having a giggle.
You're having a giggle, but just,
Having
it's
a
like
giggle.
it's like people think that Hitler was like being like, yeah, we're gonna round up all the Jews if you elect us. And he was just like, no, elect me and I'll make Germany better. And then they got elected, and we're gonna round up all the Jews, and everybody was like, oh, okay, cool.
Okay, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do that anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Blavatsky also wrote of the importance of ancient alphabets, particularly what are referred to as runes. Many of these runes would later show up prominently in the symbolism of the Nazi Party, including the SS lightning bolts and the svastika, which had been identified by Blavatsky as having supreme occult significance. With the founding of the Theosophical Society in 1875, Blavatsky was essentially being passed the torch by Abbé Alphonse Louis Constant, who died that same year. Better known in occult circles as Eliphas Levi, Constant was a French magician, author, and former priest who wrote a series of highly influential books from 1855 to 1865. Dogma and Ritual of High Magic, The History of Magic, and The Key of the Great Mysteries. One of Levi's disciples was General Albert Pike, brother General Albert Pike, chief of the intelligence of the Confederate Army and the highest ranking Freemason in North America. That is not true. He was never a Grandmaster.
Interesting thing about Albert Pike, I think I've shown you a picture of it. So
what?
Like, I guess it was like
the statue.
Yeah, it was almost 10 years ago. Now that everybody went crazy about Confederate statues and tore down all of their public statuary that could be even vaguely remotely connected to somebody who owned slaves. So basically, we just did the Islamic no graven images thing for like the first century and a half of our entire history.
Right.
But now New Orleans is a city that's, among other things, it's famous for its public works, and it's famous for its racism, for lack of it's famous for a lot, but those are two of the things it's famous for. And we had a number of Confederate statues. We had Jefferson Davis at City Park. We had Lee Circle, a giant statue of Robert E. Lee in the middle of town, which was one of the most beautiful like parts of the city, actually. Then there was another one. God, where was the other one? But there were like 5 public Confederate statues. There were so many that nobody really knows how many there were, actually. But there was on Jefferson Davis Highway, which is about a block and a half from where I live. There was a statue devoted to Albert Pike that is very prominently publicly displayed, and it's still there. Nobody touched it. And I always wonder, like, what did the Masons do? You know.
Well, some people
I'm a fan of the Masons. I'm a friend of the Masons.
Some people do like Albert Pike because he was he is the reason that the Cherokee had their own civil war during our Civil War.
Yeah.
Some of them fought on the side of the Confederacy, and some of them chose to stay with the Union. Most, I believe, although I could be wrong on this, did go with the Confederacy because Pike was so influential among them.
Yeah.
So,
he was a terrible general. Okay. He was not, to say he was a terrible general.
He had a bunch of freaking Indians.
To say he was a terrible general is not necessarily right, but the only battle of significance that he participated in was one called the Battle of Pea Ridge, which is in northern Arkansas. And it was he was there. The battle was going well. We were doing incredibly well at this battle. We were doing better than we'd ever done before. You better believe me, at this battle. And then Albert Pike showed up with his Cherokees, and they went apeshit, scalping Yankees, which, based on one hand, but like the timetable that we had to work with was very small, and he just let them keep scalping. And ended up actually being one of the reasons this battle didn't end so well, because he let them take so much time to scout.
He just let them loot Goblin, and they didn't move to the subsequent positions.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I've been in that raid. All right. Let's see. General Albert Pike. In 1867, Pike incorporated Levi's ideas into the Constitution that he drafted for an overtly racist, occult-based secret society that he and an alliance of Confederate generals and intelligence operatives created following the American Civil War, the Ku Klux Klan. Levi's ideas would later find favor with the occult practitioners who engineered the rise of Nazi Germany. I am not certain that Pike had anything to do with the founding of the Ku Klux Klan. I'm not certain. I would have to look into it, but I am pretty sure he didn't, but who knows? 1875 was also a year that a certain Edward Alexander Crowley was born. Edward, better known as Alistair, or by the grandiose label that he chose for himself, the Great Beast 666, the first guy with an online handle.
Another guy with a house in New Orleans, I should point out.
Yeah. Was without question the most influential occultist of the 20th century.
Yeah.
He was also an asset of British military intelligence, just as Albert Pike was an American intelligence operative. And just
to touch on the Albert Pike thing, he was not a member of the KKK. He was not a founding. He was certainly not a founder of the KKK. What he was, however, was involved with a slightly adjacent society that's come down to us. Actually, the Southern Poverty Law Center accused me of being a member of this society, which is called the Knights of the Golden Circle. Albert Pike was definitely involved, and that is a more explicitly Masonic society than the KKK has ever been.
Okay, interesting. I don't know anything about the Knights of the Golden Circle. Do you?
Yeah.
Oh well. Southern Poverty Law Center.
I should point out I didn't say they were wrong.
Fair enough. All right. Let's see. Crowley was also an asset of British military intelligence, just as Albert Pike was an American intelligence operative, and just as Karl Kellner, Franz Hartmann, and Theodor Roos had close ties to German intelligence entities. Hartmann, Roos, and Kellner were the primary architects of the Ordo Templi Orientis, the OTO, a secret society founded in Germany around 1895 that claims to be in a direct line of descent from the Knights Templar, which some researchers believe to be the granddaddy of all the occult-based secret Masonic societies. Whether or not there is any factual basis for that belief remains an open question, and one that is far beyond the scope of this book. What is known is that the OTO is directly linked to Blavatsky through Hartmann, a theosophist and close associate of the Madame. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, OGD, founded by theosophist William Westcott in 1888, was closely allied with Blavatsky's group as
international headquarters in New Orleans.
Nice. It was the OGD, which he joined in 1898, that Aleister Crowley first attained occult celebrity status. William Butler Yeats, noted member. Yeah, great guy. One of Ireland's favorite sons. What about?
He was a Protestant. He was a Protestant, you know.
A Protestant. Yes. Well, we don't dislike him even because of that. Let's see. What else was? Oh yeah, and what the Rider Waite, tarot deck that everyone, for some reason, believes has existed from time immemorial. There's
an older one. The Rider Waite is from the late 1800s, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it was made by two. It was made by two Masons, or not two Masons. It was made by two. One Mason, and a female illustrator, and both of them were also theosophists.
Right. The older one. There's what is it called? The Marseille deck is much older. And then, tarot goes back to the 15th century. It's like traced. It's like it didn't have the significance of like as a fortune telling device. They were just cards that people played games with, and there was probably fortune telling aspect as well. But
I have a question that I need to ask you.
Yeah.
Okay. Fellas.
Would I?
Is this a wood?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, this is Pamela Coleman Smith, the illustrator of the Rider-Waite tarot deck.
I knew she was
and a theosophist. You know she was a fucking maniac, right?
Yeah.
Like, look at this. Look at this face. This is 18. What? Hold on. This was first published in 1909. Dressing like this during Victorian times.
I wonder if there's nudes. There's
it smell crazy.
I'm sure there's nudes somewhere.
Yeah. But yeah. Arthur Edward Waite was the
he's the Waite from Rider-Waite.
Yeah, that's right. And also he wrote Devil Worship in the 19th Century, and many other things, which was about the Taxil hoax, which is interesting. I know that McGowan believes the Taxil hoax. I don't know if he cites it here, but we'll see. Anyway, okay. Founded by theosophist William Westcott in 1888, it was closely allied with Blavatsky's group as well. It was the OGD, which he joined in 1990 or 1898, that Aleister Crowley first attained occult celebrity status. He created his own occult order, which he named Astrum Argentium, the Silver Star, in 1907, and began publishing its newsletter, The Equinox, a couple of years later. Copies of The Equinox are available and are, although quite scarce, and are absolutely awesome looking.
How many do you have?
I have one. Yes. Anyway, a couple years later, in 1912, he forged a close association with Theodore Roos, who introduced him to the OTO and appointed Crowley the head of the order's UK chapter. That same year, Crowley penned an OTO manifesto that included a list of those he claimed to be past Grand Masters of the Lodge. On that list were composer Richard Wagner and an associate of his, Friedrich Nietzsche, whose published works included The Antichrist. Boy.
This is a drive-by, man.
Oh, I know. This is kettle logic right here.
I mean, it's
throwing out so many
Dave McGowan being a turbo boomer is what's going on.
Yeah. In 1919, Crowley declared that every non-member of the occult order should be treated as a savage beast. Around that same time, he became known for his published works of pro-German and pro-Nazi propaganda, which he continued to produce through both world wars. While living in the U.S., Crowley wrote for two pro-fascist rags, The Fatherland and The Internationalist.
Maybe the most base thing he ever did, because he was scaring out German sympathizers.
Yeah. Around 1920, Crowley moved to Sicily, where he founded the Thelema Abbey, a site that quickly became known for conducting satanic rites, complete with animal sacrifices, bestiality, and blood drinking. You know what? His best book is Diary of a Dope Fiend, and it's not close.
Oh yeah.
The Abbey also gained notoriety for being fraught with death and disease. Crowley's own infant child died there, as did others. At the time, Crowley was openly accused of infanticide and never denied the charges. I don't believe that he did it. To the contrary, Crowley openly and rather flamboyantly reveled in his depravity. In Diary of a Dope Fiend, Crowley was a lifelong abuser of drugs of all types. He wrote that, I have driven myself to delight in dirty and disgusting debauches, and to devour human excrement and human flesh.
Yeah, you really do that though. It's like he's like
when he at the towards the end of his life, as his health was failing from being a fucking massive degenerate his entire life.
Yeah.
He did have other children, and ended up having some. He did write some things where he was like, you know what, I have been a fucking absolute fool, because I could have just been, I could have basically just had a family and children and been happier than anything else.
Many such
Yeah.
Anglos. But again, speaking of the later life children, chat, we got a question.
We got a question.
Where do we stand on the Aleister Crowley is Barbara Bush's father question?
That's a lot of initialism. ACBBFQ.
What do you mean?
The ACBBFQ. Where do we stand on the ACBBFQ?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about this. I've never heard it suggested. Hold on. But I believe it.
Dude.
Yeah.
Minimize that shit right now. Google Crowley Bush with no safety search on. Just trust fall into Crowley Bush.
I feel like that needs to be. Let's see. I conspiracy theories appear about actress Betty White.
No. You want? Yeah, I just image search Crowley Bush. Image search it. Do it.
All right. Oh. Oh boy. I'm just gonna.
I'm so happy.
All right. I'm just gonna say that not only do I believe it, I don't think that he was her father. I think he's her. I think he trooned out. I think he never died.
It was one of the wildest things anybody's ever. And my reaction initially, there is a lot that corroborates the concept too. There's a lot that could like the right persons were known to be in the same place in the right 2-month window. And then there's the CIA connections and British intelligence to see. It's so bad. It's like this is kind of obviously George W. The president of the United States' grandfather was Aleister Crowley. Let's face it.
I mean, hold on.
Volpe's persona says, "Nah, she was his father."
I mean, come on, look at this. What are we doing? What are we doing? It's. Yeah. All right. Well, I will not ignore the evidence of my eyes. This is a cursed image. Hold on. This is an amazingly cursed image. I gotta go back to it. This is a very small image, but what is going on? Yeah. Okay. I mean. Yeah, fully believed. Okay. That was alarming. Okay. Where the fuck are we? Okay. Crowley to the head. Let's see. The Antichrist. All right. Every non-member internationalist. Around the 1920, he moved to Sicily, where he founded the Lema, ate human flesh, etc. Those close to Crowley had the rather disturbing habit of dropping dead under unusual circumstances. As Guy Valentine Lockman has written, a study of Crowley's life and that of his disciples shows that many of them ended up mad, destitute, or prematurely dead. What? Mad? Yeah, okay. Occasionally, all three.
Prematurely dead.
Well, didn't die at an old age.
Yeah, okay, fair. But I'm like, the moment you die is the moment you die.
Yeah, but typically,
what's a post-mature death?
Like 107.
Fair.
Yeah, like you're just a shivering wreck. Like take me, God, please.
Nobody ever goes. That person lived way too long.
They, I don't know.
Yeah, there's some. I guess there's some of them out there.
From early in his life, Crowley developed. Remember that Twitter account is what is it? Is Henry Kissinger dead, or whatever it was?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. All right. From early in his life, Crowley developed an unsavory reputation for killing his mountain climbing partners, a number of whom failed to make it home from their joint expeditions. In his native England, he was widely rumored to routinely sacrifice children and dump their mutilated remains in the Thames River. In one notable incident,
The Thames. The Thames.
the Thames, the Thames, the Thames, famous. Them's the river.
This music crept
The
by me on the
Thames.
waters. You know.
In the Thames. In the Thames. Yeah. In one notable incident, Crowley and an assistant entered a locked room to perform a ritual. The assistant did not make it out alive. Immediately following that escapade, Crowley reportedly spent 4 months in a mental hospital. Crowley's offspring did not fare much better than his climbing partners did. In addition to the child that died at Thelema Abbey, a young daughter of his died in 1906, and some reports claim that a son died as well in a separate incident.
Yeah, another one was Barbara Bush.
The other one was Barbara Bush. The great beast himself died on December 1st, 1947. It was at the time the worldwide head of the Ordo Templi Orientis, having been named by Roos as his successor in 1923 and confirmed in 1924, though some reports hold that Crowley appointed himself to the leadership position as early as 1922. With his passing, a new generation of occult superstars stood ready to take the torch, each of them devoted to spreading the word of the great beast. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. One of these disciples was Gerald Gardner, who replaced Crowley as the UK's most famous occultist. Gardner was born in 1884 to an affluent family in the UK, and he served for a time as a British customs agent. He was also the head of his own OTO lodge and a close associate of Crowley. Before his death, Crowley helped Gardner craft new rituals for what would become known as Wicca. In 1949, he was the first Wigger.
These are sequentially more retarded versions of the original thing, is the way occult stuff tends to work, by the way.
Wicca is profoundly gay. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see here. What would become as Wicca? In 1949, 2 years after his mentor's death, Gardner penned High Magic's Aid. He followed that with Witchcraft Today and the Meaning of Witchcraft.
Eventually, he published Dude Weed.
Dude Weed. Yes. Dude, where is my witchcraft? And the movement was off and running. More recently, Sir Lawrence Gardner, Gerald's son, penned a couple of books that attempt to justify genocide and Aryan supremacy. Well, a return to form, I see. Lawrence Gardner also serves as the presidential attaché to the European Council of Princes, an entity that has admitted to receiving funding from the Central Intelligence Agency. So it's gay, right? So,
no, like I said, we here at LMD stand the CIA.
Well, certain aspects.
At least Sandbatch does.
At least Sandbatch does.
Sandbatch is a known MKUltra subject.
A known MKUltra subject is like, please give the CIA more funding, less oversight. Can't spell Wicca without CIA.
Technically not true.
Well, the letters.
We like where your head's at, Uncle Ted.
Wicca, what? Yep. All right.
Crowley was working as British agent, posing as a German dude to try and encourage the U.S. to join the British in that war. That is true. Yeah. To that, I have to point out that had we joined the German side, You know,
What?
so again, like, why would we join the German side of a war ever? It doesn't make sense. Like, it's like one of those things where people will be like, oh, maybe the United States would have joined the German side of World War II and history would have been different. It's like, we were also at that moment in time actively suppressing the German language domestically. So, like, I don't think there was ever a chance that it was going to go the other way.
But what if? But what about the Hessians?
Yeah, Ford and Rockefeller, they can both actually. First of all, Rockefeller. Well, it comes to something going on there. Henry Ford was fine, but he was a little fucking crazy. Great industrial ideas, terrible on politics. One of the other things that I am, that in case you all aren't aware, I am against the idea of Germany in the abstract. I don't think anything good has ever come from Germany.
I too am a Bavarian maximalist. I think that Germany and Italy being unified were huge issues.
Yeah, there's actually a great book on the latter. It's called Failure of the Italian Nation, or Failure of Italian Nationhood. It actually goes into particular Italy.
Yeah.
There are not as many people that are willing to go so far as to say that Germany never should have been a country. It shouldn't. It's like, it was much better as 6 constituent kingdoms. But I mean, the Italian one is really interesting about how, like, the Italian government has basically never gotten anything right.
It has never functioned correctly. Also, the thing is that, you know, now when you think of Germans, you basically only think of Prussians, right? And Prussians are the least fun Germans. Bavarians are the good Germans, the Germans that Germans that everyone can enjoy, right? Like, they're also like, they're the jolly ones who have Oktoberfest and do the silly dances where, you know, two bros hold on to each other in their lederhosen and do flips, right?
Lederhosen,
great. Yeah, they have lederhosen, shorts for adult men. And also they're the only section of Germany that isn't completely overrun with Turks. So, like, it's the best part of Germany.
It's objectively true. Well, yeah, it's objectively. My sympathies in the great German game of whatever game this is, the Draft Kings of German Kingdoms.
I just want to one brief thing. I will stand cultures that produce good sausages.
Yeah, that's, oh damn. Maybe this is why I like Russia. You know, when I was deactivated recently, I'm narcissistic enough to name search myself. And one of the only mentions of me while I was gone was some guy that did an entire fucking thread about me being a well-known Russophile, which I was like, I guess I am. But I love Russian sausages. You know, Russian sausages are incredible.
I've never had Russian sausage.
You got to go to a Russian store and there'll be like shitloads of Russian sausages. They got these like hard little skinny sausages. They're great. They're probably German ones that have been
real gay subtext. I just want to. I'm just going to acknowledge it so that we can move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Penned a couple of books. All right. One of the senior Gardner's early recruits was Alexander Saunders, who was raised by a grandmother who was well versed in the black arts, a strega nona, if you will. As the child, Saunders was shipped off for a time to live with and be trained by Crowley himself. Trained is in scare quotes there, implying a bit of pederasty. By the late 1960s, Saunders was a national celebrity in his native UK, having anointed himself the King of the Witches. I'm the King of the Witches.
Pederasty argument getting way better.
Pederasty argument is looking good. The Witch King of Angmar. During the filming of Eye of the Devil in 1967, Saunders claimed to have initiated the film's star, Manson victim Sharon Tate, into witchcraft. His followers are said to practice Alexandrian witchcraft, while followers of Gardner practice Gardnerian witchcraft, both owe much to the teachings of Aleister Crowley.
Based. Naming it after yourself is based.
Yep. Saunders' counterparts in America was the equally flamboyant Anton Szandor LaVey, who achieved minor celebrity status in the 1960s and 70s as the Clown Prince of Satanism.
Isn't he? Didn't he have some like fucking Lee Harvey Oswald connection?
I don't think so.
Well, I feel like there was some Theosophist dude had a
No. You're thinking of Omar Khayyam Ravenhurst.
Yeah.
He was in the military and wrote a book about Oswald prior to the assassination. And founded Discordianism. Right. Let's see. Clown Prince of Satanism. LaVey's profile was first raised by San Francisco Chronicle columnist Herb Cain, who frequently provided free publicity. Cosmopolitan, Life, Look, McCall's, and the Phil Donahue and Johnny Carson shows also helped to steer recruits LaVey's way. LaVey claimed to have a lengthy and very colorful resume. He had worked, he claimed, as a lion tamer with the Clyde Beatty Circus and a fortune teller and astrologer in a carnival. He had worked with an uncle in Las Vegas who was a close associate of Bugsy Siegel and Meyer Lansky, both of whom he had met. He had studied criminology and worked as a crime scene photographer for the San Francisco Police Department, who consulted with him on nut cases. He had been a professional hypnotist, organist, and ghost buster. 3 unrelated things. He had been a paramour and Svengali of a young and then unknown Marilyn Monroe. It is unclear how much of his resume is accurate. Following LaVey's Svengali is great. Following LaVey's death, his daughter claimed that his entire life story was a fabrication, which would hardly be surprising if LaVey was, as he appears to have been, an intelligence operative. Everyone I don't like is in the CIA. Together with Crowley,
Randall Shirker is absolutely on point with the chat right now. He is like narrating things about 5 seconds.
He's like doing it, right before we say it. Yep. Okay. All right. Together with Crowley-inspired filmmaker Kenneth Anger, LaVey organized the Magic Circle in San Francisco in the mid-60s. By 66, the group had evolved into the Church of Satan. From its inception, LaVey's group included an inordinate number of police, military, and intelligence personnel. One of these was Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino, who left LaVey's circle in 1975 to found his own overtly satanic order, the Temple of Set. Before his departure, Aquino had been the highest-ranking member of the Church of Satan other than LaVey. He had joined the Church of Satan upon his return from Vietnam, where he served as a psychological warfare specialist, which very likely means that he served as part of the Phoenix program. Aquino returned from Vietnam with a Bronze Star, an Air Medal, and Army Commendation Medal.
Finally, our boy turns up. Finally, our boy is here.
Aquino?
Jolly on West.
Jolly
has entered the
Jolly has entered the periphery, even though McGowan never talks about him.
Right.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder, Dave McGowan, what is your relationship with
to Dr. Louis Jolly on West? The colonel, who reportedly began reporting directly to the Joint Chiefs of Staff in 1981, is not the only intelligence asset in the Temple of Set. According to police intelligence report cited by Carl Raschke in 1990, at least 2 of Aquino's top lieutenants at that time were intelligence operatives as well.
Dude, my understanding was that the Temple of Set was literally an intra-intelligence thing. Yeah. Like, I mean, like the grand poobah of it is always like some dude with more fucking go. What do they call jewelry, the decorations on a military uniform? They're always extremely decorated Air Force generals, you know?
Yeah. So Shirker is asking, in this sort of shit, it's why you need to ask, are the Satanists just an intelligence asset, or are they really a group that's just interested in replicating the tools the CIA gives them? And also, same question with regard to 09A.
Yeah, the O9A sort of, they do the insight role, which is like, it's like you get involved in these metaphysical inversions. So the inversion of the truth and the inversion of the inversion of the inversion of the truth and so on and so forth. It becomes very hard to keep track of. It's kind of the nature of intelligence work, though,
Yeah, I mean, insight roles are obviously an adaptation of intelligence, and I think that even in what is it, the Black Book, I think they even acknowledge that in the Order of Nine Angles, but it's also, I don't think that it's just an intelligence asset. I think that a certain amount of it is, self-selecting for people who are easy
Yeah, I mean,
to
there's
manipulate.
clearly, from Aleister Crowley to this, there's like very clearly something about intelligence work itself that attracts this sort of person,
Yeah. Yep. Of course. I mean, they want to. I mean, they idolize. I mean, all the way back to Mesmer, they want to have power over people, power that's easy to acquire, right? Power that is like, perhaps, I mean, it's basically dominance style power over people that's easy to acquire. Like,
got a
that's the goal.
DDD but Jolly, though, does not seem to really have any occult attachments.
No, that's true. I'm not sure. He seemed to be rigorously a materialist.
Yeah. So the only thing I would call him is like a sort of like Judeo-American materialist. Very a scientist, even, which is
Well, I mean, obviously, ontological materialism is a devil up, but like it's also not the same as occultism. Yeah. All right. Although Aquino denies it, his group embraces an unabashedly fascistic ideology. The reading list that he provides to his followers include a number of pro-Nazi books, including Adolf Hitler's Mein Kampf. Aquino advises members to look therein for the discussions concerning the selection of leaders, control of the masses, and the justification for human social organization.
The book list also includes None Dare Call It Conspiracy.
Oh shit, it's just the Library of Mass Destruction. Control the masses, the justification for human social organization. Aquino's admiration for the Third Reich was also illustrated by his visit to Wewelsburg Castle to perform a satanic working. During the reign of the Nazi Party, Wewelsburg had been lavishly restored by Heinrich Himmler to serve as the headquarters of the Black Order of the SS. As such, it is considered sacred ground by some modern Satanists. Aquino has been known to claim that he is the son of SS officers, though at other times he has claimed that he is a homunculus magically created by the Babylon working.
Damn.
Performed by Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard.
Damn.
What the fuck is this CV?
Dude, California in the 60s was the greatest moment to be. You could just make shit up and get away with it,
I don't know. What are we thinking? Are we thinking homunculus? Because to be honest, I'm halfway to agreeing. I'm halfway to agreeing that he's a homunculus.
The fuck is that?
Like, what's going on here?
What are we doing? This is the Temple of Set guy that I was talking about, though.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so it's the Temple. This is the guy that I was thinking of when I was like talking about. Yeah. I didn't know. What a crazy set of eyebrows, man. Look at the eyebrows and the rouge really doing it for me.
Yeah, it's his rosy cheeks really make him extra rapey.
Yeah.
Okay. After the temple was incorporated in the state of California as a nonprofit church, Aquino's group quickly received both state and federal recognition, as well as tax-exempt status. The temple's members like to boast of being the only satanic club to hold such credentials. There have been claims made that, like Aquino, LaVey also had a fondness for the Third Reich. Some reports hold that LaVey secretly forged an alliance with the National Renaissance Party, an overtly racist neo-Nazi organization.
We don't know nothing about them.
We don't know anything about them. Not to be confused with the American Renaissance.
Whose masthead includes literally the same dudes.
I know. You see, white people can practice black magic. According to some reports, Bobby Busele, who is associated with both the Church of Satan and Charles Manson, played a key role in forging a prison alliance between the Manson family and the Aryan Brotherhood. Other reports have linked Manson and the Nazi Lowriders, another neo-Nazi prison gang. Nazi Lowriders is like 100% like Mexican Aryans, isn't it? It's got to be. It's got to be.
Dude, I was
like,
literally thinking the same thing. I'm like, this is like
Heil Hitler, Holmes.
Yeah.
You know,
all they do is trick out Chevy Impalas, and you know?
all they do is trick out like BMWs, and they just let's see, they restore VW thing models. Let's see. Only church. All right. Okay. Where's okay. Such claims are often difficult to believe, given LaVey's writings reveal an ideology that can be best characterized as fascism cloaked in quasi-religious dogma. His best-known work, the Satanic Bible, contains a dedication to Karl Haushofer, one of the occult architects of the Third Reich. According to some reports, Haushofer dictated virtually verbatim an entire chapter of Mein Kampf, although legend holds that the tome was dictated to Rudolf Hess by an imprisoned Adolf Hitler. Hess was, it should probably be noted, a member of the Thule Gesellschaft, a powerful occult society behind the rise of fascism.
That's true.
It's more like I don't know if it's behind the rise of fascism. Yeah, anyway.
It's not behind the rise. Dave McGowan is like, you're in over your head, Donnie. You know?
Yep. You're in over your head, Donnie. And had been a student and protege of Haushofer at the University of Munich. LaVey's prolific writings are filled with pro-police and pro-authoritarian propaganda, unabashed elitism, and calls for the destruction of the weak by the strong. Destruction of the weak! This week we cover, LaVey also publicly endorsed the practice of cannibalism at a seminar that he dubbed On Cannibalism and Human Sacrifice. LaVey once served guests the amputated thigh of an unidentified young woman.
Doubtful.
It was pork. Yeah, it was pork. The main course had reportedly been donated by a Berkeley physician.
Based. Oh God, I love Berkeley, but so many things going wrong. Sorry, it's been a long week.
The calls that echo Crowley's writings in Book of the Law. We have nothing with the outcast and the unfit. Let them die in their misery, for they feel not. Compassion is the vice of kings. Stamp down the wretched and the weak. This is the law of the strong. The Church of Satan's promotional literature has proudly proclaimed the Church of Satan to be an eclectic body that traces its origins to many sources, including the ritual magic of Aleister Crowley and the Black Order of Germany in the 1920s and 30s. Readers are reminded that the Black Order was an elite branch of the Schutzstaffel, and that they primarily responsible for engineering countless crimes against humanity during the reign of the Reich.
Also, not actually true. This is the Waffen-SS, and they were actually a real no shit warrior society who believed that they were the reincarnations of the Grail Knights fighting an endless war.
Yes, the Nibelungen. Yep.
It's just like, of all of the groups they were weird for sure, but of all of the Nazis, they're actually the ones who are above reproach with respect to the Jew shit, because they were too busy killing communists to do any of that.
Yeah. Let's see. In the Black Flame, an official publication of the Church of Satan, LaVey once wrote, "If a neo-fascist book or outlook makes for men who look like men and women who look like women, I am all for it." He's winning me over.
Didn't see that coming.
He's winning me over. He's also offered the following observation: there's nothing inherently wrong with fascism given the nature and needs of the average citizen. Now, it's not so much the case of avoiding fascism, but of replacing a screwed up, disjointed, fragmented, and stupefying kind of fascism with one that is more sensible and truly progressive. All right, you lost me. Peter Gilmore, a ranking member of the Church of Satan, has described modern Satanism as practiced by LaVey's group as a brutal religion of elitism and social Darwinism that seeks to reestablish the reign of the able over the idiotic.
You see, again,
over injustice. Hold on. And for wholesale rejection of egalitarianism as a myth that has crippled the advancement of the human species for the last 2,000 years. Gilmore has also advocated the institution of an American Schutzstaffel.
See, I can't imagine. That's Curtis Yarvin versus C. Sandbatch in a nutshell. Like, I'm like, okay, he's that side of things, and I'm like I'm the Grateful Dead dude. I'm like, no, actually, we're gonna maybe with a little bit like fascism, but we're just gonna be cool music and hippie chicks, and we're not gonna do that other stuff, man. You know,
we're just gonna get back to the, back to the ground truth, man. We're just gonna get rid of the fakery.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, again, the connections here between. The connections between fascism and hippies are totally real. Yeah, this is not David McGowan reaching.
Right.
Like, there's a direct line from like Hitler being a vegetarian to like Jefferson Airplane doing a song about Julius Evola. Like, there's like totally real thing.
Vulpes persona. We do a bit of crunchy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Incredible avatar, by the way. Volpe's persona. Progressive's a clown wants Sandbatch to know, that's me, to know he's doing Chinese peptides to this. Well, Russian, but who's counting? The Russian peptides are a cut above the China ones, but they're hard to get right now. Oh my God,
Son of Haster, the Overton window I dream of is Sandbatch versus Yarvin.
I have, for what it's worth, I have said to Yarvin, I have said that exact same thing. That would be a genuinely beautiful society. I've long said that I want a society in which I am the far left.
I also want a society in which you are the far left. Because in that society, I would be a sensible centrist.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right. Let's see here. The Temple of Set is only one of several groups that have been spawned from LaVey's inner circle. Another is the Werewolf Order, co-founded by LaVey's daughter Xena and Manson admirer Nicholas Schreck.
Let's check out.
Particular spin-off was are we seeing if Xena LaVey is a wood?
We're totally checking on it. How do you spell it?
She married Shrek. Her name was Xena Schreck, and
Xena Schreck.
Fellas,
I'm probably not spelling this right.
Fellas, look.
Oh, you got it.
Fellas,
that's a turbo yes.
What do we think?
That's a quadruple yes. That's a tie me to the mast yes. Like, whoa. She's got like that, like, dude, I love the 1960s shit. Like, I love the mod look. She's got all of it. This is like Bewitched. I dream of Genie.
All right, hold on. What do we think?
Yeah.
What do we think?
Yes.
What do we think? How many of these are there?
Wild.
Taylor
looks great right there too.
Is Xena Shrek Tay-Tay's mama?
is Xena Shrek? That's a tweet right there. Is Xena Shrek Tay's mama.
Yeah.
Tune in to LMD to find out. We're not ever going to answer that question.
We're never going to answer that question. Man. There is there are like multiple of these actually. Hold on, look at this one. It's just like another it's just another perfect one. Oh my god. All right. No, enough of that. All right. Where was I on this freaking page? Oh, yeah. Zena LaVey and Nicholas Schreck, also notable for hosting, along with publisher Adam Parfrey, a public gathering on August 8th, 1988, that was organized to celebrate the anniversary of the slaughter of Sharon Tate by the Manson family.
Whoa. Nice. Whoa.
Do you think that they sent Roman Polanski an invite?
No.
Probably. I bet they did. I bet they fucking did.
I want to hear Manson's side of the story.
Nicholas Schreck was also notable for his noticeable lack of a left ear, which he sliced off in a Van Gogh-like move intended to symbolize his allegiance to Satan. The 8888 celebration was notable for another reason as well. It was held just one day after the 100th anniversary of the first Jack the Ripper slaying on August 7th, 1888. I mean, I think they probably did it because it was 8888.
I despise the number 8.
Why?
For all of the attendant reasons.
Because it's an infinity symbol.
Numerologically, 8 is bad.
Yeah.
It's it's 2 4s. 4 is bad because 4 is 2 2s.
Do you prefer the numbers before 8?
I mean, 7 is unimpeachable, but I'm a religious devotee of the number 3.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Makes sense. So 3 has nothing to do. 3 has nothing to do with 8. So
I mean, luckily, I'm able to get away with this because the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, the Christian religion is also quite fixated on the number 3
and 7. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Another disciple of Crowley and a cult superstar in his own right was rocket fuel scientist Jack Parsons. In 1939, Parsons joined the Agape Lodge of the OTO in Pasadena, California, where he also helped found the prestigious Jet Propulsion Laboratory.
That was a wild fucking
It was probably insane, yeah. The Agape was the only OTO lodge in the States at that time, though there was an active lodge in Vancouver started by Charles Stansfield Jones. In 1942, Parsons took the magical name of Frater 210 and assumed leadership of the Pasadena Lodge, the blessings of Crowley. Parsons led the branch of the German-based pro-Nazi order throughout the war years, while at the same time working on a highly classified military project purportedly aimed at defeating the European fascist powers. One of his early recruits and most avid disciples had just served with the U.S. Navy in the Pacific and was the son of a naval commander. Calling himself Frater H, he claimed at various times to work for the Los Angeles Police Department, the FBI, and the Office of Naval Intelligence.
I mean, I just
last one again, most plausible.
Yeah, well, I mean, all of them are plausible, and I remind you, what else is going on at this? Who is at UCLA at this point in time?
Yeah, you're right. Leon West was the head of psychology at the time.
Our buddy, have you spent much time in LA?
No.
Dude, it is so wild when you out there. You can't sling a dead cat without hitting shit that makes you think of all of this. Speaking of while we're at it, we said Uncle Ted says, I thought only chicks were into numerology. Penultimo follows up. Well, Penultimo was trying to be mean to me, and I'm ignoring him. Sons of Hasser now says, no, chicks are too bad at math for numerology. And this is, to one extent or another, this is true. Chicks go for astrology when they need to get into bullshit. And dudes really are down for numerology. In fact, the great Oswald Spengler The only chapter worth reading in Oswald Spengler is, well, it's probably not the only chapter worth reading, but by far the best one is his chapter on the meaning of numbers.
Interesting. I haven't read it, so
have you not?
I guess I should read that chapter.
Dude, you know, Spengler. He's one of these guys that, like, one of the other ways I can always tell, like, a Twitter guy is full of bullshit is if you like read books nobody's ever heard of, bro, and then they start with Oswald Spengler. Every history student ever has had to read Oswald Spengler. He's an undergraduate assignment.
The most recent band book that I read is I started reading Roman McClay's Sanction series.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're very hard to find. I finally got a copy of the first two of the three for under 200 a piece. The only set available. I've never seen a set available for under $1,000.
Oh, okay. Procrustes. Here, look, I'll do a little dude astrology for you right here. If you're, and everybody can, like, sort of gather around and listen here. Okay, so first of all, astrology is true to
Procrustes says, not gonna lie, I love astrology. If my hinge matches a libtard, I make sure we've got compatible signs so they can blame my politics on me being such an Aries.
No. This is not the way you want to do this. You want to up your level of DDD. Okay. And what you actually want to do is start negging them and insist that their generational planet aspects are the reason they don't get it. You are not doing this right. I just increased your rate of success by a factor of like 5. Super chats, please. I'm getting everybody laid here with their hinge batch.
Everyone. We're all getting laid.
You know, getting laid for you, getting laid for everybody. You have to use astrology to neg the woman. Otherwise, she won't believe you.
Yeah.
That's settled into silence there.
All right. I'm trying to All right. Office of Naval Intelligence. In truth, he may very well have worked for all of them. Frater H., perhaps better known as L. Ron Hubbard, soon became Parsons' right-hand man. In 1949, the two adepts performed an allegedly important ritual that they dubbed the Babylon Working. Oh, that's how they made Mr. Aquino. 2 years later, following the death of Mentor Crowley, Parsons took the oath of the Antichrist and took on an elaborate new name, Balerian Armalus Al-Dajjal Antichrist.
That is quite a name. It is quite a name.
It is an elaborate name. It's
also the name of like 5 black kids born a day in New Orleans.
Oh my God! Procrustes.
Yeah. Look at that. I'm now a relationship
better
consultant.
manipulator. Making me a better manipulator, he sends $5. Thank you.
Putting relationship consultant on my resume right now.
And Marbly Man says Groiper. This Balerian Armalus Al-Dajjal Antichrist Groiper. Deserved. His Pasadena mansion served as the lodge's temple. Leadership of the OTO had, for the first time, been passed down by Crowley into the hands of Karl Germer, a former Nazi spy. Hubbard, meanwhile, parted ways with Parsons, and by 1950 had launched the Hubbard Dianetics Research Foundation in New Jersey. In May 1950, Astounding Science Fiction, a pulp magazine, introduced Dianetics as a purportedly new science. Within weeks, Hubbard's book had hit the bestseller lists. In 1952, he moved his operation to Phoenix and renamed it the Hubbard Association of Scientologists. In June of that same year, just 2 days short of the summer solstice, Parsons allegedly blew himself up while at work in his private home lab.
Whoops! Oh, dude, I love this one. Actually, this is one of my favorites.
When informed of her son's death, his mother promptly committed suicide.
Whoops!
rumors surrounding Parsons' death named L. Ron Hubbard, Howard Hughes, and Randolph Hearst as possible suspects. A great group of guys to go after you. In 1953, the Church of Scientology was formally incorporated in Los Angeles. The group grew quickly over the succeeding years, particularly in the late 1960s, when membership quadrupled with the addition of such members as Charles Manson. By 1967, Hubbard's empire included command of a fleet of ships. Though the Church of Scientology has worked hard to gloss over its occult roots, its founder's own son, L. Ron Hubbard Jr., has been quoted as saying, "Hitler was involved in the same black magic and the same occult practices that my father was. The identical ones. My father thought of himself as the B666 incarnate. When Crowley died in 1945, my father then decided that he should wear the cloak of the beast." There seems to have been a lot of that going around. L. Ron Jr. has also said the one super secret sentence that Scientology is built on is, "Do as thou wilt." Yes.
So I did go check on this because I guess what year was the oh, it actually probably would have been before the 1960s, but famously the Topanga and the Watts acid tests both occurred. And is everyone familiar with the acid tests? Are we all? I mean, you're familiar with what they were.
Where you okay? Do you mean acid tests played between the people who were in principle consenting, or do you mean mass experiments?
The acid test is in can you pass the acid test, King Kesey and the Merry Pranksters?
Oh, okay. Yes.
But okay, so yeah, so much going on there. I can't talk about that. But
when you mean can you pass the acid test, you mean can you hold your shit together, or will you be altered at the end?
Should I don't know if I can go into this topic because it's kind of that, but it's kind of something else. It's a little weirder than that. But the acid tests were this after MKUltra's widespread LSD testing rounded up. Pretty much they tied it off because they weren't getting what they wanted out of it. King Kesey and Ken Babbs and a couple of other dudes said, whoa, dude, that shit's fun. And they got their own supply and they started throwing parties where they would give out large quantities of LSD to the participants. And they had a band that played music during the proceeds that was at the time called the Warlocks. It eventually changed its name to the Grateful Dead. They did a couple in Los Angeles, and I was trying to remember if there were any connections between the Grateful Dead and Scientology. And I Googled it and I jammied it up, and AI says no, but I know this is not true because Robert Hunter was a Scientologist. And Robert Hunter was one of the MKUltra, was one of the direct MKUltra subjects. Jerry Garcia was never a direct MKUltra subject, but Robert Hunter was. And he's the lyricist for the Grateful Dead. He was usually they're considered their kind of silent member. So there is a connection between the acid test and Scientology and the Grateful Dead, for those of you who are keeping track.
For those of you at home,
yeah,
there's a direct connection.
I have been hooked up to one of those Dianetics machines, and I don't mean a modern one. I mean one of the old ones. I was actually at a crazy rich right-wing person party, and they had one, and that was one of the gimmicks at this party. It was
did you
I did.
What was your stress level like?
It was and I was drunk, first of all, and they said that does throw it off, but it is interesting that it does seem to register particular changes in someone. There's something going on there, and it's very strange because you won't feel what's happening, but you'll see the meter move, and then you'll become aware of it, and it's hard to place what exactly is happening. California,
interesting. All right, let's see. In the early 1960s, two ranking members of the Church of Scientology, Robert Moore and Mary Ann McKean, better known as the de Grimstons, split off from London's Hubbard Institute to form the Process Church of the Final Judgment. Amazing.
Process Church of the. That sounds like. I wonder. Process.
Oh, they're yeah, okay. A February 2004 report from Denver's Rocky Mountain News revealed that the Process Church is alive and well today after a series of name changes. Lou Kilzer, Friends Find Their Calling, February 28th, that's citation 2004. The group first became the Foundation Church of the Millennium, then the Foundation of Faith in God, then the Best Friends Animal Sanctuary, and finally the Best Friends Animal Society, which has its headquarters on a compound in the Utah desert. The group, which still includes many original members, is now known to rub shoulders with Hollywood celebrities.
See, this is the reason.
The Best Friends Animal Society, I believe, still exists.
Yeah, it does.
In the present day, and is also funding certain activist groups that are not related to animals.
If you're looking for Antifa, this is like this rabbit warren, this rabbit's nest of bullshit is why the left is so good at sneaking money around and funding Antifa, because they've been practicing doing this shit since the 1950s. But just to, in case anybody caught this, first of all, the Process Church of the Final Judgment. First of all, this is why I need to finish the E-Girl novel. Do you remember the name? There's the Womb Chthonic is the real name of the society, but the outward name of it is the Southwest Texas Institute for Women's Sleep Deprivation Studies. You know, it's like there's always this weird front name. It's always somewhere between the Mississippi River and like the Continental Divide. But listen, the Process Church of the Final Judgment was a small but influential new religious movement found in the early 60s that blended. This does not sound like every white woman in the world right here that blended psychotherapy, apocalyptic theology, and countercultural aesthetics. E-Girls, I've got you. This is why you all love me, because I know what's deep inside you. Okay. And the church was founded in London, of course. This is doctrinally the Process Church. But I had this question. This is what they believe. It emphasized the four archetypical aspects of divinity: Jehovah, Lucifer, Satan, and Christ. And there's a lot going on there. Presented and not as literal demons, but as psychological and moral forces that must ultimately be reconciled. Oh my God, literally, my crazy ex-girlfriend. And symbolism combined with stark black clothing and ritualized street presence made the group highly visible and easy to sensationalize. Okay, there is. Yep, we've got MKUltra connections. We've got Jolly West, but possibly of most importance is because there's a very popular philosopher. He's probably the philosopher that I've read the third most of. I was talking about him not too long ago. It's Alfred North Whitehead. And he invented something called process philosophy, which undergirds much of the theory behind artificial intelligence, large language models, neural networks, and sort of what we would call sense making in the modern elite. Okay, so like this is when you listen to the elite talk. Probably their patron philosopher is this character Alfred North Whitehead, and there is in fact an immediate connection between the Process Church and Alfred North Whitehead's process philosophy. So that's all of our shit is running together right here.
A group the Process Church of the Final Judgment, a group whose official logo is a modified swastika and whose literature included glowing tributes to Nazism, Satan, gore, and necrophilia. That's G-O-R-E as in gory, rather than G-O-R as in the foundational work of gender theory by John Norman. Right,
which and this is this is the shit that you and Catherine D were on about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was my early, because when I first met Catherine, we had a lot of these really strange things in common. That was like she knew who a lot of these weird people were, and I was like, how do you know who that is?
How do you know Capitalisimo?
Yeah.
Yeah. The group's bookstore reportedly stocked titles on topics such as Hitler, organized crime, hypnosis, brainwashing, and the occult. Literally me. Moore, a former cavalry officer and the grandson of a British vicar, and McLean, a one-time prostitute who was connected to the Profumo scandal, who reportedly believes that she is the reincarnation of Nazi propagandist Joseph Goebbels. You mean Goebbels?
The Joseph Goebbels?
The Joseph Goebbels. The Joseph Goebbels. She's Goebbels. First left London with their followers just after the summer solstice of 1966, arriving first in Nassau and then in Zutl, Mexico. They were soon back in London. She could have gone with Nazi propagandist Leni Riefenstahl, and then they wouldn't have the transgender
another
thing.
one of my ex-girlfriends had a giant photo collection of Leni Riefenstahl photographs. That's the one that that's the Wisconsin one. But okay, question here, Wolfie's persona. This is a technical question. I'm going to hop in and answer it real quick. Was Whitehead a logical positivist? No, he actually wasn't. He was involved he did help Bertrand Russell write Principia Mathematica, but his what becomes process philosophy is actually, whereas the logical positivism is I think it's probably Wittgenstein. I've not read a lot of Wittgenstein, so I don't know a lot about it. But when I hear logical positivism, I know it's associated with the Vienna Circle, and they have this concept called verificationism, which is an explicit rejection of metaphysics, and it's like the reduction of meaningful statements to like an empirical or less. So this is the idea that you can use essentially first order logic to prove nearly anything. Whitehead is actually process philosophy it's explicitly metaphysical. So he's got this idea that reality is constituted by events, so things that happen, which he calls actual occasions, which is rather than static substances. So that experience itself is the verification of form. Okay, and so like form doesn't exist without experience is the ontological claim that process philosophy makes, so that we're eventually arrive in a not too different place from Heidegger with a difference with a more Anglo sheen on it. But the reason it's very popular with the AI crowd is because well, I don't want to get into that, but I keep going.
By 1967, they had arrived in the States, first setting up shop in New Orleans French Quarter, where the organization was formally incorporated with the assistance of a former lawyer for the Catholic Church.
That house that house is now a bar called the Dungeon, and it is was the very first bar that sold me liquor when I was 15.
Interesting. In March 1968, the group moved their base to San Francisco, taking up residence not far from LaVey's Church of Satan and various other occult groups, including a branch of the OTO. I mean, really, you probably couldn't throw a handful of rice in the air without some of it landing on their windowsill, right?
Right, dude. New Orleans and San Francisco. They're like we're like. New Orleans is like the retarded conjoined twin,
It's hot here.
It do be hot down here, man. Get some of the nice Bay Area weather. No, get down there.
Recruiters for the group had been in the Bay Area since the 1967 Summer of Love, signing on such members as Brother Eli, a member of the Gypsy Jokers biker gang whose home and the Process Church Temple was located just 2 blocks away from the home of the Manson family. From its inception, the Process made no effort to hide its infatuation with death, destruction, and cultural terrorism. In the essay, Jehovah on War, Moore commanded his followers, "Thou shalt kill." Another essay that appears in the official Process publication urged readers to experience the pleasures of grave robbing and necrophilia.
Now we're getting into the final form of this is the Order of Nine Angles.
A rant in the death issue was penned by a recent transplant to the Bay Area by the name of Charles Manson. I'm not sure he actually gets into the O9A in this.
No, that's too recent, I think.
No, the O9A has been around since the 70s.
Yeah, but he's probably, I don't know if he's going to get through the 70s here.
Yeah. Also, by 1967, the Process had already spawned at least one spinoff, probably from the group's inner circle, purportedly known as the Omega. The spinoff has been variously referred to as the 4P movement, the 4-Pi cult, or the Qinggong cult. The group's logo is a stylized swastika composed of 4 Ps. Its members are said to share a fascination with Nazi racist doctrines. Author Michael Newton has written, if law enforcement spokesmen are correct, the cult is also deeply involved in white slavery, well, now I'm against it, child pornography, even more, and the international narcotics trade. I could take it or leave it. The first branch of the cult was organized in Northern California and is said to have held its early gatherings in the Santa Cruz Mountains, adjacent to that boiling cauldron of satanic activity known as San Francisco. From this primordial stew would arise in the late 60s, the Manson family. Much of Manson's ideology was taken directly from the teachings of the Process Church, with whom Charlie was closely connected, as alluded to by Bugliosi in Helter Skelter, and greatly elaborated on by Ed Sanders in The Family, and Maury Terry in The Ultimate Evil. Manson was exposed to the process as early as the spring of 1967 at San Francisco's.
Exposed to the process,
Exposed
bro.
to the process.
When I get to the bottom, I go back to the top of the slide where I stop and I turn and I go for a ride till I get to the bottom and I see you again. You know?
Wow.
This
guy and the... I'm not sure I've listened to a complete Grateful Dead song ever.
That's Helter Skelter.
Well,
tell me, come on, tell me the answer. Well, you may be a lover, but you ain't no dancer. Dude, we were like over the target and bombing where I live right now.
And he later claimed, Devil House, and he later claimed to have met leaders of the process at the Polanski house, which he is known to have visited before the killings. Manson was also linked to the Church of Satan, the Solar Lodge of the OTO, which operated from the ranch near Blythe, and a cult-owned house near the University of Southern California campus. The Church of Scientology, Charlie declared himself to be a Theta Clear after 150 hours of auditing while in prison. A particularly bizarre group known as the Kirke Order of the Dog Blood, and a number of occult-oriented biker gangs, including the Straight Satans, who once attended a Ku Klux Klan rally in the San Fernando Valley. The Satan Slaves.
Hold on,
Jokers. Hold on. The Gypsy Jokers, the Jokers out of Hell, and the Coffin Makers.
The biker
gangs were awesome,
dude. They were, yeah, but they were in so now they just do shit like run drugs. They used to be full of like PTSD, psycho World War II veterans. You know, I was talking about the Hell's Angels earlier with a guy because they, the Hell's Angels and the Dead are very closely related, especially in the early days. It's infectious because the Grateful Dead
they used to hire them for security.
Yeah. The Grateful Dead are actually the band that was the inception behind the infamous oh God, please don't dominate. New Speedway Boogie was, if you ain't got nothing to say, the Altamont Festival, which is the one famously where they got the Rolling Stones to headline it, and they got the Hells Angels to be security, and they stabbed that African American. But stop and imagine this for a moment. I don't know if you all out there in Viewerland are familiar with Southern California or familiar with California, but imagine a world in which there were open Klan rallies in California. That was 50 years ago. What a wild change in the world.
What a world.
Since then,
what a world. What a world. Yep. Terry's evidence indicates that the family was itself a satanic cult, specifically a faction of the process spawned 4-Pi cult, and a sister group to both the New York chapter said to be responsible for the Son of Sam slayings and the Santa Cruz and San Francisco faction that may have been responsible for the Zodiac murders. The Manson family, appropriately enough, was also deeply involved in drug trafficking, just as Henry Lee Lucas claimed his cult to be. It is not likely a coincidence that Henry's partner, Otis Toole, was known to have paid visits to the New Orleans headquarters of the Process Church. It keeps
Look,
pulling you back in.
just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in.
Yep.
You know.
With all that
We
in
also have
mind,
you know what else we have in New Orleans? It's not there anymore. Sometimes Swampus and I will go down there. It's to Bar Redux. It's the most evil place. I tell people sometimes that it's the place, if there is a place in New Orleans where you can actually feel the gaping tear in reality from which the darkness pours.
it's called the Hellmouth.
You
It's called
can't
the
get
Hellmouth.
you can't get any closer to it than this place called Bar Redux, which is at the gate to what is now the abandoned Office of Naval Intelligence compound on the Mississippi River. So yeah, there's some esoteric New Orleans for you. You want to go down to New Orleans. You want to see the real New Orleans. Go to Bar Redux on the very edge of town on Poland Street, and tell me if you cannot feel the evil. You know.
Shirker says, this is where I have to agree with Maury Terry. I think there's a connection to the family, but I think it was a parallel development in that swirling soup of 1960s counterculture. Well, yeah, I think that he's also missing the entire actual active MKUltra ops running in San Francisco at the same time in the same vicinity. I mean, the free again, and I've said this many times. Charles Manson frequented the Free Clinic, which was an operation overseen by Louis Jolyon West.
Oh God, I would kill several people for 1 week in San Francisco in 1967. Well, actually, I probably wouldn't get anything done.
Would you have to kill them in San Francisco in the 1960s? Because it's
easier then than now.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It is SF is pretty rough right now,
dude. Dude. I was there like 3 weeks ago.
Were you in the Tenderloin?
Yeah, actually, it's where I stay.
Oh, that's gross.
It's like nothing. It's like New Orleans.
There is like an incredible antiquarian bookstore like 5 blocks out of the Tenderloin. That's like on the periphery, but
there's all kinds of cool shits around the Tenderloin. You know.
Yeah.
San Francisco is just fucking cool as shit. All of it. It's cool as shit all the time. But yeah, sorry. Yeah.
With all that in mind, we now turn our attention to the San Francisco and Santa Cruz area and the explosion of violent murders that belched forth from that cauldron beginning in the late 1960s.
Yeah, that was me, by the way. I had to
Satan is a fascist. The title of a April 1972 article by Donald Nugent in The Mouth, and that referred to the unholy trinity of Adolf Hitler, Charles Manson, and Anton LaVey. Inasmuch as fascism stands for an embracing of the natural order and a rejection of anything goes attitudes that have hindered our society, particularly since the 1960s, then fascists we are. Church of Satan Magister Peter Gilmore in The Black Flame, Volume 4, Numbers 1 and 2. Chapter 13, The Spawning Ground.
The Spawning Ground. That was a great chapter, by the way. That was easily my favorite chapter.
That was the best list of ships that we've ever had on LMD. Otis Toole, I've been meaning to ask you, that time when I cooked some of them people, why'd I do that? Henry Lee Lucas, I think it's just the hands doing it. I know a lot of things we've done in human side are impossible to believe. Toole, when we took them out and cut them up, I remember one time I said I wanted me some ribs. That make me a cannibal? Lucas, you aren't a cannibal. Force of the devil. Something forced us. We can't change. There's no reason to deny what we become. We know who we are. Toole really does sound retarded.
Well, you made him sound retarded.
No, I didn't make him sound retarded. His quotes
he did that to himself.
His quotes are retarded. He's like literally confused about things that he did. When we took him out and cut him, up, remember one time I said I wanted some ribs?
What about the
That would be
rabbit,
okay. No, but
George?
what about the rabbit? I want to tend the rabbit. Yeah. Yeah. But the quote does make him sound like pretty slow.
He probably was.
Yeah. On March 21st, 1967, the spring equinox, Charles Miles Manson was released from prison and given transport to San Francisco, where, despite having served virtually his entire adult life in prison, he immediately started gathering devoted followers, many recruited from the various satanic groups blossoming in the area. In the spring of the following year, 1968, Manson loaded his new followers into a bus and took them on the road, ultimately settling into the Los Angeles area, where Charlie quickly and improbably established numerous prominent contacts in the entertainment industry. As Neil Young, who knew Charlie and his girls well and once tried to get the head of Warner Brothers to sign the aspiring singer-songwriter, once told in an interview, a lot of pretty well-known musicians around LA knew him, though they'd probably deny it now. That is crazy that Neil Young tried to get Charlie signed to Warner Brothers. Like, if Neil Young had given Charles Manson his big break successfully, I don't know. It's very funny how things could have gone. I wonder how many musicians, had they not gotten their big break, would have ended as Manson did.
So yeah, could be as many of them. It could be any of them.
The alternate history where Hitler is just a somewhat well-known landscape painter. On December 20th, 1968, just shy of the winter solstice, what was thought to be the first Zodiac murders rocked the San Francisco area when a man was shot in the head at point-blank range with a .22, and his female companion was shot multiple times with the same weapon. A detective working the case noted that the male victim had recently learned of a major drug deal that was about to go down, and he had been talking openly about who was involved in the transaction. Wow. How could someone possibly murder a guy who was doing that sort of thing?
Who knows?
It would later be speculated that the Zodiac killings actually began in the Los Angeles area on the eve of Halloween, 1966, just a few months after the rampages of Richard Speck and Charles Whitman. The victim, Sherry Jo Bates, had been stabbed in the chest, and her throat had been slit so deeply that she was nearly decapitated. A wristwatch of military origin had been found at the crime scene, along with a military-style heel print. Michael Aquino. The circumstances of the murder suggested that the female victim knew her killer and had spent a portion of the evening with him before the attack. What was said to be a confession was received in the mail, and on Walpurgis Nacht in 1967, taunting letters were sent to area newspapers and to the victim's father. The FBI would later inadvertently reveal that it had an alternate version of the confession, featuring the exact same wording, but set in a different typescript and with a different number of words per line. On Independence Day, 1969, another couple was gunned down in their car, this time with a 9mm semi-automatic. The woman, Darlene Ferrin, who appeared to be the primary target of the attack, the man survived his wounds, may have known the previous Zodiac victims. She had reportedly told her friends that she had witnessed a murder by a man who had subsequently been following her. Many weeks before her death, she had been receiving mysterious packages from a man living in Mexico who Darlene had, for unexplained reasons, married in 1966 using an assumed name and then later divorced. Why do you have to divorce someone if you married them in an assumed name?
Yeah, it's an assumed divorce.
Yeah, right. Her companion on the night of the murder, Michael McGowan, left his home in such a hurry that the lights of the TV were left on and the front door was left open. He later told investigators that he and Darlene were followed immediately upon leaving Ferrin's house. After changing his story several times, McGowan went into hiding. Shortly after the shootings, police received a call from a man claiming credit for Ferrin's murder. The call was placed from a payphone just outside the sheriff's station. At the end of July, the first of what proved to be a long series of letters arrived at area newspaper offices with a request that the letter be published on August 1st, the occult holiday known as Llamas. These series of letters were laced with codes that suggested that the writer had a background in naval intelligence, bringing the ONI, Office of Naval Intelligence, into the case. Other agencies that investigated the Zodiac killings included the FBI, the U.S. Postal Service, and California Department of Justice. And 4 local police agencies. On August 4th, 1969, the killer supplied his moniker in a letter that began, "This is the Zodiac speaking." Just days later, on the nights of August 8th and 9th, the Manson family committed 2 of the most notorious multiple murders in the nation's history. The Tate LaBianca slayings, the Manson killings, were part of a weekend orgy of violence in Los Angeles that saw the city record 29 known homicides in just 4 days. It's probably not the record, is it? It's probably like an average day in 2020. All right. Before the search for the perpetrators of the high-profile murders was over, it would involve the FBI, Mossad, the California Beverage Control Board, the U.S. Treasury Department, the LA County District Attorney's Office, the LAPD, the LA Sheriff's Office, and Colonel Paul Tate, a U.S. Army intelligence asset, Vietnam veteran and father of victim Sharon Tate. Also brought in by Roman Polanski to assist in his own investigation of the killings was famed psychic Peter Hurkos. Hurkos had earlier made a high-profile appearance alongside F. Lee Bailey in the Boston Strangler case, which will be covered in a later chapter. At the time of the Manson murders, Hurkos was involved in organizing a Black Arts Festival scheduled for Halloween Day, 1969. The event's other organizers were Timothy Leary and Anton LaVey, who were scheduled to host the festival before it was canceled. The month after the Tate LaBianca killings, and just after the autumnal equinox, a man and woman were stabbed multiple times in a San Francisco area park. Despite the fact that it took nearly an hour for an ambulance to respond to a call as the pair lay bleeding, the man survived the attack. In what has to be the only known case of a serial killer showing up for work dressed in a logo-bearing costume, the assailant was described as wearing a strange hood with an attached apron that prominently displayed the trademark symbol of the Zodiac. We'll just figure out who registered the trademark. It's easy. Anyway, the attacker reportedly had a gun but chose instead to use a knife, breaking from the previous pattern and likely contributing to the survival of the male victim. Prints from a military-issued boot distributed primarily to U.S. naval bases on the West Coast were found at the scene. The professed killer again called police again from a payphone near the police station. He reportedly left a clear palm print on the phone, but a nervous technician reportedly destroyed it. Goddamn. On October 11th, 1969, 1 day shy of the birthday of Aleister Crowley, a taxi driver was shot once in the head with a 9mm handgun, although it was a different 9mm that had been used previously by the Zodiac. At 4 San Francisco area crime scenes, the Zodiac had now used a different weapon at each. The latest victim had picked up his fare on Mason Street and then driven him to an address in the Presidio Heights area of the city, where he was promptly shot. Some local kids witnessed the murder and immediately called the police with a description of the assailant. For unexplained reasons, however, the police dispatcher broadcast a description of a black perpetrator, allowing the real shooter to evade a massive police response. 2 days later, a new letter from the Zodiac claimed credit for the killing and threatened a future attack on a school bus. On October 22nd, what? On a school bus. Never did that.
School bus?
Never did that. Yeah. On October 22nd, a man identifying himself as the Zodiac called authorities and requested to speak. Strangely enough, to either F. Lee Bailey or San Francisco attorney Melvin Belli. A spectacle then played out in which the man, calling himself Sam, called and had a live chat on the air with CIA-linked Belli. In November, another letter arrived from the elusive Zodiac, this one containing a bomb threat. Also in November 1969, 2 Scientologists were found savagely murdered on the streets of Los Angeles. Each had been stabbed more than 50 times.
It couldn't have
One
happened
of
to
the
a better
victims-
group of people.
One of the victims had dated Manson disciple Bruce Davis in 1968, just before Charlie had sent Davis to London to visit both the headquarters of the Process Church and the local Scientology school. Davis was later convicted of other unrelated murder charges, and he has been identified by some researchers as a possible suspect in these Zodiac killings. Another Zodiac letter addressed to Belli was sent on December 20th, just shy of the winter solstice. On April 20th, 1970, yet another letter was sent. It was followed by a dragon card on April 28th. The next day, on the eve of Walpurgisnacht, the Zodiac's bomb threat was revealed to the public, ratcheting up the already high level of fear in the Bay Area. Interestingly, one of the Zodiac's numerous letters contained a coded reference to the location of the killings. A decoding suggested that the crime scenes formed a pattern that centered on Mount Diablo, the Devil's Mountain, and that utilized an obscure unit of measurement known as a radian, which is a mathematical unit based on the number pi.
You know, that's an obscure unit. Oh my God, Dave. Oh man, it's the baseline unit for all of trigonometry. It's literally the unit in which calculus is done.
McGowan's not a calculus guy, clearly.
Oh man, that's wild. Dave.
Elsewhere in the country, a man named Stanley Baker was convicted in July 1970 for the murder of a Montana resident. Baker made a candid admission to his arresting officers. I have a problem. I am a cannibal. As proof, he produced from his pocket a well-gnawed human finger. Okay, I believe you. Baker was the talkative sort. Last name Baker, should have been Butcher. Baker was the talkative sort, and he readily confessed his involvement in a number of other murders, and he claimed he had committed it as a member of the process-spawned 4-Pi cult. Police were able to confirm his complicity in a particularly brutal mutilation murder in San Francisco, thanks to his having left behind a bloody fingerprint. California courts nevertheless decided to prosecute Baker for the homicide with the remarkable claim that declined to prosecute the homicide with the remarkable claim that he had been denied a speedy trial. Wow. Despite his confessed involvement in a number of murders, and despite the fact that the murder for which he was convicted involved him ripping out a man's heart and eating it, Baker was released from prison after just 14 years. According to recent reports, he remains at large today. This is in spite of the fact that he distinguished himself as something less than a model prisoner during his incarceration by starting his own satanic cult and having no fewer than 11 weapons confiscated by guards.
That's a lot. Okay.
Amazing.
Oh, dude.
You know, I feel like you shouldn't. I feel like you shouldn't be able to start a satanic cult in prison. In prison,
of all the places to start a satanic cult, that's probably the right one. But all this show today has made me want is a California burrito.
What?
There's a great burrito place right at the fucking gate, right at the fucking entrance to Universal Studios.
Okay.
And all of this California talk has made me crave that particular burrito.
Interesting. I had a very mediocre burrito yesterday.
It's because it wasn't in California.
That's true. It was not. Let's see. Just as Stanley Baker and Charles Manson had migrated away from San Francisco, so too did many other disenchanted hippies and flower children move on in the late 1960s and early 70s. Many of them found refuge in the hundreds of square miles of sparsely settled wilderness offered by these Santa Cruz mountains, where the abundance of rich soil and clear running water proved ideal conditions for communal living and marijuana cultivation. By 1972, some 17,000 men, women, and children had taken up residence in the fertile glens along the rich creek beds of Santa Cruz. As Margaret Cheney described the scene, every enterprising commune or solo druid grew a patch of cannabis, but it didn't end there. More enterprising men began to operate small, portable pill factories in the remoter parts of the forest, turning out LSD and amphetamines for the city market, free of police harassment. Small cult of Satanists from San Francisco liked the landscape and opened a local parish. After them came pretenders, exploiters, and hangers-on. The more sensational news media promoted the Black Mass aura. Small sacrificial animals were occasionally found beheaded. Wow. Beautiful, beautiful forested setting. Seemingly random, motiveless killings quickly began to plague Santa Cruz. Except it's a drug hotspot, so I think we got the motive. And
I'm not going to like blame drug users for everything.
Well, more like drug industry.
Okay, fair. Big drug, bad.
Big drug. In October 19th, 1970, in a case closely mirroring the slaughter of the residents of the Tate House the year before, John Lindley Frazier, allegedly acting alone, killed all the occupants of a home in Santa Cruz, including a prominent doctor, his wife, secretary, and 2 children. Interesting that his wife and secretary were both in the home at the same time. Frazier, who was known to have a strong interest in the occult, was said to have started his own lifestyle as an Aquarian age.
Big believer in the age of Aquarius here.
As an Aquarian age hermit living in a 6-foot square shack in the woods, a lifestyle later adopted by Ted Kaczynski, who was a subject of MKUltra experiments while he was a young scientist at Harvard, and who has been named by some researchers as a possible suspect in the Zodiac killings. Fucking doubt it. All right, footnote on Age of Aquarius. The notion of the Age of Aquarius was popularized by groups like San Francisco's Diggers, with a D, who occupied the aforementioned Devil House, and by the publications such as San Francisco's Oracle. Perhaps no one played a greater role in popularizing the idea of the Age of Aquarius than the Oracle's Gavin Arthur. Interestingly, Arthur's full legal name was Chester Allen Arthur III. He was the great-grandson of President Chester Arthur.
God, I love it. It's so waspy. We're like in the wasp shit right now. Like, I love everything about it.
He reportedly predicted JFK's assassination before Kennedy was even elected. Some attribute that feat to clairvoyance, but it was more likely due to foreknowledge. It's a strong claim, okay?
Or it was just a pretty easy thing to predict, you know?
Yeah. That guy's going to get assassinated. All right. Just over a week after the Frazier killings, a Halloween card was received from the Zodiac. Make Halloween cards. Interesting. More cards and letters followed, the last of which arrived in 1974. The murders were never solved, though many believe that, as Inyo County District Attorney Frank Fowles has stated, Manson and the Zodiac Killer were connected. There definitely were more than one Zodiac Killer. Like, it's just...
You think so?
Yeah, I think it's widely thought that there are...
I think it was just one guy.
It was multiple people.
This is like... this is one of the few serial killers that I really get into. I think it was just one guy.
Also kind of doesn't seem like a serial killer.
Yeah, that's true.
Zodiac seems like a multiple killer, but not a serial killer in the, like, Henry Lee Lucas, Dahmer it doesn't quite fit the... profile. Yep. Soon after Frazier's rampage, women began going missing from around the Santa Cruz area. As early as autumn of 1968, reports began surfacing of grisly occult sacrifices being performed in the surrounding mountains. By the summer of 1972, it was clear that Santa Cruz had a problem. Mutilated bodies began showing up in the hills. By the time 1973 rolled around, the bodies were piling up at an alarming rate. What am I going to do with all these corpses?
What are we going to do with all these the bodies of all?
I've never seen so many dead hookers in all my life. Lord knows I have.
We were almost out of hookers here in the Bay Area, and we beg you to stop. You know,
we beg you to stop. The last 3 we've got are on their last legs. They are all fucked out. They need a break. Mutilated bodies began showing up in the hills. By By the time 1973 rolled around, they were piling up at an alarming rate. Just as the first 6 weeks of the year, 8 bodies were found, and women were continuing to disappear. What had once been an idyllic community had been radically transformed. The murder rate had quintupled, and Santa Cruz had achieved a rather dubious distinction of having the highest homicide rate in the country. Many of the areas killed. Wow, and all these people were presumably white.
Higher than New Orleans?
Wow.
No way.
Well, probably per capita.
Actually, this was in the age.
Yeah, I guess it's rate. Yeah, so it is per capita.
And this was in the age when New Orleans was at its safest. This is the Jim Garrison thing. You remember?
Interesting. Many of the area's killings were credited to 2 alleged serial killers, Edmund Kemper and Herb Mullen.
Dude, I was all the way down the rabbit hole on these 2 serial killers a couple of nights ago. Dude, Kemper is this ridiculous. Like, he's the one that has he's still alive. And he's got an IQ measured in the 140s. So he was just getting away with it. Maybe the other guy that was the Herb Mullins or whatever was the reason he was able to get away, because they're like, you can't expect cops to think there's a bunch of serial killers at one time, but there were 2, and it was causing pattern static. MKUltra, by the way, it was causing pattern static. Huh. And the dude, he had this terrible relationship with his mother, and he starts killing these women. Yeah, he starts killing these women, and then he finally killed his mother, and he quit. And he killed his mother. Then he drove to. He tried to turn himself in, and the cops laughed at him. And then he drove to Colorado and turned himself in again, and finally found cops that would believe him. But yeah, he's still around. He's still alive. He's an interesting character as far as serial killers aren't really that interesting usually, but he is one of the interesting ones.
The funniest thing about it's you should just, most people, generally speaking, murderers are not recidivists. They have very low risk of recidivism, because most people typically kill the 1 or 2 people who really piss them off and then never recommit, right?
Yeah.
It's not compulsive or anything like that. Kemper should have just started with his mom.
Exactly. He's said that in an interview before.
He's like, I should have just killed her.
Because he's totally unrecalcitrant about killing his mother, but he feels bad about the other ones,
Yeah, I really didn't know what I wanted. It turns out I just wanted to kill my own mom.
But it's interesting is because he also killed his grandparents at a young age, went to jail for it, and then he was released. And he was released and considered to be a model example of the prison system's ability to rehab people. And then he turned out he killed 8 more bitches.
Amazing. Amazing. I wish Edmund Kemper was on Twitter.
He might be.
Love to be moots with Ed Kemper. That's yeah. All right, let's see. Edmund Kemper and Herb Mullen, who were said to be operating at the same time in the same city, though acting independently of each other. Kemper's bloody odyssey reportedly included 8 victims brutally butchered between 1972 and 1973. Most of them were co-eds whose corpses were cannibalized and sexually violated. Hopefully, man, there's just no good order to do that in. Mullen was credited with dispatching 13 victims in just 4 months, from October 13th, 1972 through February 13th, 1973. Mullen admitted to having a strong interest in the occult, a fact made evident by the name of the killings attributed to him. The first victim was killed on Friday the 13th, the second on or about Halloween, and the third murder was the stabbing of a Catholic priest in his confessional on November 2nd, celebrated as All Souls Day. Wow. Oops. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Who knows what the hell that guy was into, though?
Yeah. To briefly recap, no fewer than 6 serial killers or mass murderers: Charles Manson, Stanley Baker, Ed Kemper, Herbert Mullen, John Lindley Frazier, and the Zodiac were all spawned from the Santa Cruz, San Francisco metro area in the span of just over 4 years, a time when serial killers were a rare enough phenomenon that they hadn't yet acquired a name. And another serial killer was said to be at work not far away during the same time frame. As Bundy chronicler Richard Larson recounts, the bodies of at least 14 young women and girls were found, nude and with their belongings missing, in Northern California between 1969 and December 1973. In the immediate vicinity of each of the bodies was found an elaborate witchcraft symbol of twigs and rocks. Remarkably enough, the crimes collectively attributed to these men did not even account for all of the ritualized homicides that occurred in the Bay Area during that time. For example, the murder of Fred Bennett, the captain of the Oakland chapter of the Black Panthers, whose mutilated remains were found scattered in the Santa Cruz hills, was never solved. And many of the young students who were reported missing from the local campuses were never found, either dead or alive, and were therefore never listed as homicide victims. Wow. Wow. Penultimo says he U-hauled them before or after. Right. Yeah. God damn it. We're I guess that's the jargon of the show now. U-hauling is unit of force. On October 12, 1974, the birthday of Aleister Crowley, student Arliss Perry was brutally murdered and left on display in the Stanford Memorial Church on the campus of Stanford University, nestled in the shadows of the Santa Cruz Mountains. Perry was left lying on her back with her head toward the altar and her legs spread wide. She was nude from the waist down, and an altar candle protruded from her vagina. Another altar candle was wedged between her exposed breasts. Her jeans had been neatly arranged in an inverted V shape and placed across her splayed legs, forming the Masonic symbol of the compass and the square. 5 years earlier, the very same symbol had been left carved into the stomach of a Manson victim, Leo LaBianca, as the W in the word war. The prime suspect in the still unsolved murder of Perry. How do you do a W? How do you do that as a W? Oh, I guess okay. Maybe if you make the inner angle very acute, it would look more like a W. Let's see. The prime suspect in the still unsolved murder of Perry is a man named Bill Mentzer, who knew Charles Manson and at least one of his victims, Abigail Folger. In fact, Mentzer reportedly had lunch with Folger just a few days before her death. He later was connected to David, son of Sam Berkowitz, as well, and still later was convicted of the Cotton Club murder of aspiring film producer Roy Radin. A few years after Perry's murder, a new rash of serial killings began in nearby San Francisco, California. These were ultimately attributed to a man named Richard Chase, also known as the Vampire of Sacramento and the Dracula Killer. These killers, Chase, Manson, Kemper, Mullen, the Zodiac, Frazier, and Baker, heralded the dawn of a new era that soon established serial killers as an ever-present part of the American landscape. Before 1960, fewer than 2 serial killers a year were reported nationwide. By 1970, the number had climbed to 6 per year. By 1980, to nearly 20 per year. By 1990, nearly 36 serial killers a year were being reported across the country. The years covered by the occult bloodbath in Northern California, 1967 through 1973, corresponded precisely to the years that the Phoenix program in Vietnam was in full operation, although similar programs under different names existed prior to 1967. In September 1973, the head of the Phoenix operation, William Colby, was appointed as the new director of the Central Intelligence Agency. Phoenix had officially come home.
William Colby mentioned.
Yeah. Man. Need some water. My throat is it's so dry it feels sticky. Let's see here.
What you been doing?
What you been doing? Oh, I've been reading aloud. Let's
don't
see
know why that was so funny.
Let's see here. Let's see. Randall Shirker, he says, I'll note that Perry's murder was solved. It was the security guard at the church that Terry argued misreported the times he locked up the church at night. Got it. The guy redacted himself and the police were executing a warrant on him in connection to the murder, and he's suspected of being involved in 3 other murders on that campus over the years. All right, yeah, that seems pretty. Also, he only matched one of the DNA samples taken at the scene, so there's plenty to suggest he wasn't alone. Just people were, taking some turns on a co-ed. I know. Back when I was in college. Never mind.
Back when you were in college, you were in college.
I was the Zodiac killer. Back when I was in college, I was the Zodiac killer. I got the hoodie from the guy who was the Zodiac killer before me.
Yeah, you passed on
passed
the Zodiac
it down
killing.
to an underclassman.
Yeah.
That's how I know there are multiple.
Imagine the fraternity in which, like, one guy, it's like one of you at the end of this initiation, one of you will be crowned the new Zodiac killer. It's like, what do you? Oh man,
guys, I'm not sure that Chuck's the right guy to be the Zodiac killer. Well, why do you say that? Well, he's mentioned he doesn't like murder. It's like, then why did he rush Zodiac killer? Yeah. Anyway. Alrighty. Charles Miles Manson was born no-name Maddox, the son of an alcoholic teenage prostitute. His mother was imprisoned for armed robbery when Charles was just a toddler, so the boy was sent to live with his grandparents. Following that, he lived for a time with an aunt and uncle in Virginia, who sent him off to his first day of school dressed as a girl, just as Henry Lee's mother had done.
Tradition.
Right. By age 8, Charles was back with his mother, who occasionally sent him off to stay with a moonshiner uncle. At age 9, he was sent to the Gibble Home for Boys, a reform school in Terre Haute, Indiana. 3 years later, the preteen boy was living alone in a single room in a boarding house until he was discovered by authorities. How he came to be living alone remains something of a mystery. From that point on, Manson spent the vast majority of his life institutionalized. On Walpurgis Knocked.
one way to put that.
You just always mention Walpurgis Knocked. Charles next found himself housed at Boys Town, identified in the Franklin cover-up as a cesspool of pedophilic operations. By the age of 15, Charles was no longer a ward of the state. What is Boys Town? Not that, presumably not the neighborhood of Chicago.
No, the Boys Town. It's a thing. Let's just keep going. We'll find out.
Not the Boys and Girls Club.
No, keep going. All right. We'll find out.
By the age of 15, Charles was no longer a ward of the state. He had graduated to being a full-fledged convict. In prison, the diminutive Manson was repeatedly raped and beaten by guards and fellow inmates. Raped by the guards?
No way.
He meant raped by inmates and beaten by guards. Well, beaten by both, but raped just by the inmates. I'm pretty sure I don't know. Prison guard, I don't know. Are we sending our best? Maybe. Who knows? Let's see. The raped and beaten by his fellow inmates until he managed to escape at the age of 16 and find his way to California. Just escape from jail. He was soon arrested again and sent to the rather ominously named National Training School for Boys in Washington, D.C. A few years later, he was set free and married briefly and fathered a child while also working as a pimp. Busy man. That occupation earned him a lengthy prison stay following a conviction for running an interstate vice ring. I guess it's really easy to go interstate when you're in D.C. Let's see. 7 years later, he was again set free after reportedly following Henry Lee Lucas's lead by begging authorities at Terminal Island Prison not to release him. Amazing. Within months, Charlie was playing his music in bars in San Francisco's Tenderloin district and gathering a large and devoted group of followers.
A large and devoted group of followers in San Francisco's Tenderloin district in the 1970s.
Yeah.
Woo. Woo.
Wow. Can you check what happened to Manson's daughter?
No, don't even. Yeah, let's Jamie that up.
Yeah, Jamie that up. Why don't you Jamie that up while I? Within months.
What was the? How should we phrase this? Should we say
what happened?
Did anything strange happen to Charles Manson's daughter in the Tenderloin district of San Francisco?
Why don't you just ask what happened? What's up with that? What's up with her? What's up with Charles Manson's daughter?
I was recording the prompt as I spoke it out loud.
Oh, great.
He did not have a known daughter. His confirmed children were sons, most notably Michael Valentine Manson. But there was no daughter. There is no factual basis for claims about something strange happening to a daughter of Manson in the Tenderloin district. What does exist are rumors and conflations that developed in late 60s San Francisco. Manson and some followers passed through the Bay Area before moving south to Los Angeles. But there is no documented...
Wait. What's up with his son?
What?
I note here that McGowan actually said child, and I assumed daughter.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let's follow this up. Okay. I'll give you this. The daughter was
that one.
The daughter was a ruse. The daughter was a ruse.
I was really asking about his son.
Did anything strange happen to Charlie's son in the Tenderloin district in San Francisco? I've just degenerated to talking directly to the AI on the air.
Yeah. Oh, there's a junior.
Yeah,
there's a junior.
Yeah,
Where are they now?
Actually documented spent his infancy moving with after Manson, the child was removed from the group. Well, there are no police reports, court records, contemporaneous journalism, or reliable memoirs placing him in the Tenderloin district, let alone describing an incident there. What historians and investigators agree on: Manson's son was not used in rituals, not trafficked, and not involved. Yeah.
Whoa. You brought that up. You brought that up.
Yeah. Oh man. What a fucked up place. The last time I was in a Tenderloin, you know what I did? I had just been dumped the night before. It's that picture of me that when I first started drawing comparisons to characters from David Lynch movies. It was because I was at the El Camino Motel in Daly City after I'd been kicked out of an Airbnb the night before, and I was absolutely emotionally fried. And I got a breakfast burrito. California has the best burritos, by the way. I got a burrito and I went to the Tenderloin district, to the Church of Light, where I was dosed with high caliber psychedelic mushrooms, and 3 aging homosexuals held my hand and walked me through my feelings.
Dear Lord.
I can't believe I said that on the air.
I can't believe you said that on the air. Interesting. So two of Manson's sons are still alive, apparently. So
what it's like to be them.
I don't know. They're just they're just boomers, man.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Two are dead. Two are dead. One is surviving. Yeah. Yep. Interesting. Yep. And he changed his name. Valentine Michael Manson changed his name to his mother's maiden name. So, let's see here.
That egg on his face.
Also, he was raised in Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Ew.
Let's see. Just outside of Minneapolis, FYI.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. All right. Tenderloin District, hundreds of different people, many of them prominent in the entertainment industry. He made numerous contacts in the music business, including Dennis Wilson. Wilson and Melker reportedly created an LA area hellfire club known as the Golden Penetrators. Manson was likely a member. Wow. Neil Young and Terry Melcher, the son of Doris Day and the former occupant, along with Candace Bergen of Cielo Drive Home, where the Tate murders occurred. Charlie even reportedly served as a religious consultant for Universal Studios on a movie about Christ, and also auditioned to be one of the monkeys. He was, man, that would have been great. He was also deeply involved in a number of criminal enterprises. He didn't want to take the last train to Clarksville.
Nobody wants to go to Clarksville.
Yeah. And also, if I did, I'd want to leave earlier in the day. Yeah. Anyway. That's why he wasn't accepted. He was deeply involved in a number of criminal enterprises well before the consecutive bloodbaths that thrust him into the national limelight. His author Joel Norris has noted Charlie was a drug dealer and a contract killer. Okay. He had become involved in underworld crime, murder for hire rings, and child pornography. Interestingly enough, Manson has said that the family's most well-known victims were involved in some of the same enterprises. Do you think those people deserve to die? They were involved in kiddie porn. Charlie has also previously noted allied himself with various satanic cult groups that, as Norris notes, were heavily based on ritual bondage, sacrifice, and also murder. According to Ed Sanders, who interviewed numerous members and associates of the family, Manson was also involved in the production and distribution of snuff films.
That's what they got him.
That's where they got him.
Over the line, Charlie, over the line.
One toke over the line, dear Jesus. In the aftermath of Tate and LaBianca killings, the LAPD, one of those officers co-owned the auto shop that Charlie lived in just a few months before the murders, couldn't really be bothered with the wealth of evidence that implicated family members in the murders. The department also refused to acknowledge and examine the obvious connection between the two murder scenes, severely hampering the investigation. They likewise refused to explore the connections between the murder of musician Gary Hinman and the other two high-profile crimes. The LA Sheriff's Department had already solved the Hinman case, no thanks to the LAPD, and had taken Bobby Beausoleil into custody just a few days before the Tate murders. The sheriffs knew of his connection to the family and of the connections between the three crime scenes. Two motorcycle gang members with close ties to the family, Al Springer and Danny DiCarlo of the Straight Satans, had given the sheriff's damning testimony concerning the family's involvement in all three murders. DiCarlo, who was reportedly a member of the Process Church, appears to have provided security for Charlie and the family. Kept a large arsenal of weapons at the family compound, including a .303 British Enfield rifle, a .22 rifle, a 20-gauge shotgun, a 30 caliber carbine, 12-gauge riot gun, an M1 carbine, and a submachine gun. The family, it should be noted, did not operate as the hippie cult they had been portrayed as being. Base of operations was more of a paramilitary compound than it was a commune, with guard shacks and lookout points, telescopes, walkie-talkies, military field telephones, and converted dune buggies equipped with machine gun mounts. Sick. So fucking cool. Dune buggies with machine gun mounts? Come on.
Dude.
Come on. That's a warthog.
Randall Shirker says, yeah, this gets discussed in chaos, and all I got is that despite whatever folks think about the author, the Golden Penetrators are certainly a group with skeletons in that closet.
Man,
golden penetrators.
The Golden Penetrators have a few more things in that closet. When the sheriffs passed along to the LAPD the information they had obtained from their informants, LA's finest proceeded to do absolutely nothing. LA needs to go through reconstruction, like real bad. Meanwhile, on September 1st, 1969, just a few weeks after the Tate murders, a .22 caliber revolver was found in Sherman Oaks and turned into the LAPD. The gun was a rather rare and unique firearm, and just happened to match the description of the weapon suspected of being used in the killings, right down to the broken handle that provided a perfect fit for the handle pieces that were recovered at the murder scene. Nevertheless, the department tagged and filed the weapon, and it was promptly forgotten. For months, the department later sent out a flyer with a photo of the weapon, failing to realize that they already had the gun in their custody. It took a phone call from the father of the boy who had found the gun to get the department to acknowledge its existence. And even then, the caller was initially told that the gun had probably been destroyed. Elsewhere, family member Susan also randomly destroying rare guns. What the fuck? What the fuck? I mean, I know cops do that. You know, who God only knows how many rare firearms were destroyed during buybacks.
Oh my God, yeah. Probably like at least 60% of the world's supply of M1 Grands.
Oh, God, it hurts so bad. Elsewhere, family member Susan Atkins had been arrested on unrelated charges and was spending time in the Sybil Brand Institute for Women. While there, she gave detailed confession of the murders to at least 2 fellow inmates. She claimed that the family had already committed 11 murders and many more were going to die. Both of these women tried to pass the information along to the LAPD, but both were repeatedly denied permission to do so. What the fuck? This was in spite of the fact that one of the female jailers to whom these requests were made was at the time dating one of the Tate case homicide detectives. One of the inmates later said, "It was the hardest thing I've ever tried to do in my life to get anyone to listen to me." It would appear then that the LAPD had, amongst other evidence, all of the following at its disposal: the eyewitness account of a participant in the crimes, the gun used in the crimes, and a statement of 2 close associates of the killers directly implicating them in the crimes. Yet they chose not to act on any of this for a period of several months. Though no serial killer or mass murderer in history has likely achieved the level of notoriety or generated the volume of media coverage that Charles Manson has, many of the most compelling facts of the Manson case remain largely unknown to the public. Of particular significance, perhaps, are the myriad levels on which killers and victims were connected. One of the connections was provided by none other than Anton LaVey. At least one of Charlie's girls, known locally as the Witches of Mendocino, was recruited from LaVey's Church of Satan. Susan Sexy Sadie Atkins was one of the many dancers in LaVey's stable, collectively known as the Topless Witches Review. Atkins, it's such theater kid shit, right? Like the Topless Witches Review. Exactly. Atkins later credited LaVey with starting her down the road to murder. Family member Bobby Beausoleil, who is a roommate and by some accounts a lover of child star turned underground filmmaker Kenneth Anger, was also recruited from the Church of Satan. Interestingly enough, LaVey had connections to the victims as well. He had formed a close association with Roman Polanski shortly before the murders when he served as the technical consultant for Polanski on the film Rosemary's Baby, in which he also made a cameo appearance as who else? Satan. On the set of an earlier film, Tate herself had reportedly been initiated into witchcraft by Alexander Saunders. Sammy Davis Jr., one-eyed black Jew, who was introduced to the Church of Satan by Manson victim Jay Sebring, has said of the victims who were killed at Tate's Cielo Drive residence, "Everyone there had at one time and another been into Satanism." Some newspaper reporters at the time of the slayings denounced as sensationalism or rife with reports that the Polanskis were Satanists who hosted drug and sex orgies. Well, it's not an orgy without the sex. You're just repeating yourself. Indeed, just as days before the murders, a drug dealer was reportedly filmed being whipped at the house in an S&M ritual. Not the drug dealers. Various celebrities were said to have been in attendance. Actor Dennis Hopper spoke in interviews of sadistic movies filmed at the home that featured some of Hollywood's biggest names. What is going on in the chat? Nosemary's gravy. Another connection was provided by the Salem Institute, a New Age retreat in Monterey with ties to Crowley enthusiast Timothy Leary's like-minded Himalayan ancestry academy. Manson had ties to both. He had in fact visited East Salem, where Robert de Grimston of the Process Church reportedly lectured occasionally, just a few days before the Tate killings. On the very day of the murders, someone from within the Polanski home placed a call to the Institute for reasons unknown. One of the victims, Abigail Folger, may have visited the retreat just a few days before Manson's visit. Author Robert Heinlein, love Robert Heinlein, also reportedly invited to lecture at East Salem. Heinlein, who, like Hubbard, first gained notoriety penning pieces for astounding science fiction, is probably best known as the author of the 1961 novel Stranger in a Strange Land, the most maximalist Sapir-Whorf hypothesis book ever written, by the way. Have you read that, Sandbatch?
No, I think the only Heinlein I've ever read is The Moon is a Harsh Mistress.
That's a good one to start. That's a good one to start and end with if you really want to just read. I think it's his best novel.
Yeah. I think I've read Stranger in a Strange Land, actually. And then I've also read...
Really?
Super Troopers is him, isn't it? Or Super...
It's okay. Starship Troopers. Super Troopers is
I read, because, I mean, again, I've been in this milieu for a long time, but I remember thinking, like, Moon is a Harsh Mistress was a cool book, and the others are just like, okay, yeah, you read a classic. It's the libertarian one too, which is funny.
It's the libertarian one.
You would not expect me to get into like serious libertarianism.
Well, there's also like eugenics in it. So.
Yeah.
He wrote that. Well, so in Stranger in a Strange Land, a dude who has been raised by Martians comes to Earth and starts teaching people the Martian language. And if you learn the Martian language, you basically become enlightened and like get into free love and communal marriages and things like that. So, it's basically maximalist Sapir-Whorf. Like you gain access to a higher level of conceptual reality by learning a language. Yes. Heinlein did say, did learn Grok or did invent Grok. Yes, that's right. To fully understand is Grok. So, anyway, the book provided Manson with a Crowley-inspired script to follow, and it was one of the few books that Charlie allowed his disciples to read. Heinlein was a right-winger with strong authoritarian leanings who, to this day, nevertheless continued to be promoted by various voices of the progressive community. There is a Heinlein for every area on
like a Heinlein for you, a Heinlein for you, a Heinlein for you. What's the communist? There's one that's just super communist.
I don't know which one's tanky. I don't know which one I would say is tanky. Probably, I don't know, maybe Friday.
I think it's one of the really early ones.
I don't know. Let's say Friday. Let's say the one with a female protagonist.
So, like, if we were to map Robert Heinlein novels to political
quadrants,
which one is the closest to tanky?
I think it's Friday.
I was talking to the AI.
Oh, okay.
I'm good at that, aren't I?
Excuse me, Cap. Shut the fuck up. I'm talking to the AI. I'm talking to the AI right now. What did it say?
It gives number of the beast, I think, probably.
What?
No, it says that one's explicitly. It says no Heinlein novel fits, and it says he was a bad dude. He was a fascist.
It says
it actually gives Moon as the Harsh Mistress, and that's maybe bullshit. Actually, I can see it, but the
bullshit. Moon is a Harsh Mistress is a libertarian novel.
Well, there's a lot of links between libertarian and socialism.
Okay, but it's definitely not tanky.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Like, yeah. Anyway, whatever. Okay, so he's got 3 of the quadrants covered. All right, he's got 3 of them. You know, what do you expect from one man? Let's see. Another link between the principals and the case was provided by singer Mama Cass Elliot. Victims Wojtek Frykowski. Wow, fucking Star Wars name if I ever heard Wojtek Frykowski. Amazing. Jay Sebring, who had a history of sadism, were both part of Cass's clique, as were Manson and some of his followers. Victim Abigail Folger may have been as well. Folger has also been friends for a time with Charles Manson himself, as well with convicted Cotton Club killer Bill Menser. 4 of the LAPD's top initial suspects of the Tate murder cases were members of Cass Elliott's inner circle. They remained prime suspects for the first month of the investigation. One member of that circle was Pick Dawson, the flamboyant son of a U.S. State Department official and an on and off boyfriend of Cass. Dawson had lived in the home of victims Frykowski and Folger in the summer before the killings, while the ill-fated pair house sat for the Polanskis in the future crime scene. 150 Cielo Drive, later renumbered, appropriately enough, 166 Cielo Drive. Another connection between killers and victims was provided by their shared interest in drug trafficking. Several of the victims, including Wojtek Frykowski, Abigail Folger, and Sharon Tate herself, were linked in the trafficking of hallucinogens. Rosemary LaBianca was a known trafficker of methamphetamine and likely other drugs as well. Frykowski had reportedly secured a deal just before the murders that would have made him the exclusive distributor of MDA in the LA area.
Love MDA. It's considerably better than MDMA.
Interesting. I have not done either of those.
It's one of the really
certainly shan't at this point. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. MDA's. You know how I feel.
Yeah, I'm just not even interested anymore.
No.
You know, there was a time and a place for everything, and it was called high school and college.
I just don't drink, so like I have to get my kicks in stranger ways.
I have literally drank with you.
Yeah, I know. I drink when I drink.
I don't conceptualize myself as a drinker.
Well, there's that, but I don't drink because I don't. I mean, if you notice, that was the only that was all I drank that weekend. That was it. That was the only like everybody's hanging out outside and everything like that. You like I'm never drinking.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I mean I can do like 2 drinks, but I don't like it makes me sweaty and then I get a headache.
Knees weak, arms are heavy.
So
I'm like sweater already.
So I take psychedelics instead.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
His operations financed with coffee heiress Folger's considerable financial resources. Jay Sebring, who before the murders had once appeared in an underground movie that also featured Mansonite Bobby Beausoleil, appears to have been involved in the drug trade as well. A man named Joel Rostow is known to have delivered drugs to Sebring at the Cielo house just hours before the murders. Rostow was found murdered the next year in New York City. Another Sebring associate showed up dead just a month later in Florida. Immediately following the killings on Cielo Drive, Sebring's house was thoroughly cleaned by friends before the police arrived to conduct a search. The Manson family was also heavily involved in drug dealing, including trafficking in LSD, hashish, marijuana, and cocaine. Just a couple of days after the killings, Manson was seen driving a black Mercedes-Benz, possibly owned by an underling of a man named Ronald Stark. Around that same time, Stark assumed the role of banker for the Brotherhood of Eternal Love, a tax-exempt church that was formed by a motorcycle gang with close ties to Timothy Leary. The Brotherhood was led by a man named Farmer John Griggs. At the same time of the Tate murders, Griggs allegedly overdosed on PCP at the group's ranch in Idlewild, California.
Love Idlewild.
A month earlier, a teenage friend of Leary's daughter had been found drowned at the ranch. The death of Griggs resulted in a massive shakeup at the organization that resulted in the shadowy Stark becoming the Brotherhood's sole banker and money manager. Under Stark's guiding hand, the Brotherhood became the largest known producer and distributor of LSD in the world, producing some 50 million doses.
Wait, who?
What?
Who is
the Brotherhood of Eternal Love? Ronald Stark.
Oh, the Grateful Dead family. Yeah. That's here. I don't know about that.
Stark was also closely linked to a parallel acid producing operation in the UK dubbed the Microdot Gang,
Yeah,
which likewise produced millions of hits of LSD in the early 70s. While running his empire, Stark was known to have extensive contacts with American embassy personnel and to have frequent visitors from both the British and American consulates. Interesting.
love me some microdiets.
God.
Just letting it all go.
You're just like this is how the American right wing is.
It totally is.
I know.
We would be so much better. Oh, I'm not going there. Okay, I'm not going there right now.
Were the Manson killings in reality part of what might be dubbed the Great Acid Coup of 1969?
Yes.
Were they the result of an operation aimed at, amongst other things, killing off some competitors, intimidating others, and consolidating control of the hallucinogenic drug market? The possibility clearly exists. Police originally were drawn to the theory that the killings were drug-related. Other early theories were that the killings were occult-inspired, or that the true motive could be found in what was dubbed fame porn. Films and videos found at the Polanski home suggested an entire Hollywood wife-swapping operation. The Folger-Frykowski home also yielded a box of erotic photos of Hollywood elite. They were also indications of the involvement of organized crime in the killings. Lino LaBianca had known underworld connections to whom he reportedly owed nearly $250,000 in gambling debts. God damn. At the time of the murders, the LaBianca home, which I must add, perhaps gratuitously, was once owned by Walt Disney, was known to have its phone lines tapped. I could also add here, perhaps rather gratuitously as well, that Walt Disney was a direct descendant on his mother's side of George Burroughs, reportedly the Grand Wizard of the witches executed in Salem of 1692. David McGowan, canonically, Salem witch trial truther. Just pointing that one out. Walt Disney is the grandson of the witches you didn't burn. One mistaken impression that many people have about the Manson case is that the homes where the attacks took place were largely chosen at random. That was hardly the case. Manson was very, very familiar with the Polanski and Tate home, which he had visited in the past. Manson knew both the owner of the Cielo Drive home, Rudy Altobelli, and the previous tenant, Terry Melcher, who, along with Charlie, was involved in the Process Church, as was John Phillips, Cass Elliott's bandmate and another associate of Manson. Charlie was familiar with the LaBianca home as well. It was right next door to the home of Harold True, who had hosted LSD parties attended by Charlie and his followers before the murders.
They just make LSD parties seem so bad.
They generally do not result in homicide.
That's true. I've never been to an LSD party that resulted in homicide.
That you know of.
No, I'm pretty sure.
Long tail consequences.
Yeah, there's long tail consequences. That is true. Yeah.
One particularly bizarre fact about the Tate killings that has gone largely unreported is that the crime scene appeared to have been rearranged after the killers had left. An attempt appeared to have been made to pose the victims' bodies on the home's front porch, after which the corpses were reposed inside the house.
I totally thought he was going to be like, the one factor seems to be going unremarked by, is Sharon Tate was a wood. She was a wood. Smoke show.
Absolutely. Very, very beautiful woman. Here, let's, like crazy, like, come on, right? Yeah, like completely ridiculous. Yeah, like doesn't look like a real person. So
Gone with the wind.
Yep. Tragic.
See, you all refer to a psychedelic phase. I am talking about
it's a lifestyle, Dad.
I don't want to say it's a lifestyle, but like you gotta keep in touch with your star player, man.
You just gotta open your soul up to demons.
You gotta open your
Xenos.
third eye, bro.
You gotta let in a Mesoamerican corn demon.
No, again, that's where I draw the line. Ayahuasca, not even once. DMT, not even once. We are strictly about phenylalanines, man, and you know, good American stuff,
phenylethylamines. Phenylethylamines.
Phenylethylamines, oh man,
Yeah,
we're it's 100% American here, bro. We're patriots.
Let's see. Randall Shirker says, can't wait for Cap to return to the King Cringe crew for serial killer victim tier list on Wood. Oh, honestly, the Subverted Subversions guys would do that. Jesse Larkins is co-host of King Cringe.
See, Shirker here says, I refuse to go harder than THC, booze, and caffeine. Seems like hell otherwise. I would place THC and
holy shit,
roll peptide. That's a good one.
Opus Persona roll peptide. Oh my god,
that's a good one. I think THC and booze are both much harder drugs than LSD is, actually, in my conceptual framework.
I can probably sign off on that to a certain degree.
It's like long-term physical consequences, etc., so on and so forth. The thing
I don't think that any of that shit should be long-term, obviously.
The thing about LSD that's great is that if you take that shit once, you won't even think about it again for 6 months.
That's true. All right. Anyway, let's see. Charles Manson. Oh yeah. They were rearranged on the front porch, after which the corpses were reposed inside the house. Evidence of tampering with the crime scene included the unidentified bloody boot heel print found on the front porch of the house and a number of unidentified fingerprints on the premises. We are probably going to
call it there.
No, we can't.
Yeah,
we gotta make it just a little more. Manson ultimately was arrested on charges unrelated to the murders on October 12th, Aleister Crowley's birthday, following a raid on the family compound, and was only later charged in connection to the killings. Charlie had previously been arrested on charged on 40 more occasions. One of those arrests in 1967 was made by a narcotics team led by LAPD's Frank Salerno. Salerno would later lead the task force investigating both the Hillside Strangler murders and the Night Stalker killings. When the Manson case came to trial, there were unusual, strange occurrences that seemed to plague serial killer trials. The lead defense attorney, Ronald Hughes, had just passed the bar and had yet to try a single case. He was, needless to say, a rather odd choice to spearhead the defense of one of the most vigorously prosecuted and high-profile murder cases of all time. Hughes soon went missing and later turned up dead on the very day that the death sentences were returned by the jury. Family member John Philip Zero Hott, not charged with playing a role in the murders, also turned up dead, allegedly after playing a game of Russian roulette. Another member of the family was whisked away to Patton State Hospital, which was reportedly deeply immersed in overt behavior modification experiments in the 1970s. Perhaps the most troubling aspect of the trial was that the defense team rested their case without bothering to actually present one. Courtroom viewers were stunned when not a single witness was called to rebut the prosecution's case, thereby virtually guaranteeing a win for Bugliosi and the state. Also of note is that then President Richard Nixon declared Manson guilty on national television, nearly causing a mistrial, but ultimately greatly aiding the prosecution's efforts. When it was all over, Judge Oder pronounced death sentences for Charlie, Patricia Krenwinkel, Susan Atkins, and Leslie Van Houten. These sentences were delivered on, of all days, April 19th, 1971. The year... Do we know what April 19th is? Just one day before Hitler's birthday.
Yeah.
The year before, Bobby Busele had become the first family member to receive a death sentence when the jury trying him returned the sentence in the Gary Hinman murder trial. The date was April 21st, 1970. Perhaps no other serial killer case has the subject of mind control played a more central role. That Charlie had a remarkable ability to control his followers is well established and widely acknowledged fact. Even more remarkable is that Manson has maintained much of their control from the inside of the prison cell for over 30 years now.
He's dead now.
He did. In fact, the control that he had over his disciples was the primary basis for Manson's murder convictions. While it was Charlie's face that came to symbolize the killings, he did not personally participate in the Tate LaBianca murders. According to the official version of events, he was not even present at the crime scene when the murders took place. He merely suggested to his followers that what they should do, and they obligingly followed his commands. In order to convict Manson then, it was necessary for the prosecution to convince the jury that the actual killers were virtually powerless to disobey their leader. For this reason, the Manson trial had no real precedent in American legal history. What the Manson case demonstrated was that it could be proven in a court of law that a person could be compelled to essentially act against his or her will. That had already been established in a Danish court in the Hallmark case recalled by Estabrooks in Hypnotism. An amateur hypnotist named Nielsen had induced an hypnotic subject named Hardrup to commit a murder. Nielsen, the hypnotist, got a life sentence, the maximum penalty in Denmark, whereas Hardrup, the actual murderer, received a 2-year sentence on the basis of temporary insanity. The Manson case had a significantly different outcome. Manson, the hypnotist, received the death penalty, the maximum sentence in the state of California, and so too did the actual murderers. Legally and logically, that verdict made little sense, for if Manson's control was so complete that the killers were powerless to resist his commands, then they should not have been held legally accountable for their actions. Well, it's possible that he actually deserved much worse than that, but you can't actually kill someone multiple times. So, that's not logically inconsistent. Manson's control was so complete, the killers were powerless to resist his commands, and they should not have been legally responsible. And if Charlie did not wield such power, then he should not have been held responsible for the actions of others. Prosecutor Vincent Bugliosi did not address that inherent contradiction in his prosecution strategy. In his widely read book, Helter Skelter, he did ponder, albeit briefly, how Manson gained such control over his subjects. He concluded that remains the most puzzling question of all. Indeed, after spending just a few pages briefly summarizing some of the techniques Manson employed on his followers, Bugliosi surmised, "I tend to think that there is something more, some missing link that enables him to so rape and bastardize the minds of his followers that they would go against the most ingrained of all commandments, thou shalt not kill, and willingly, even eagerly, murder at his command." Charlie himself once gave an indication of how he controlled his flock. If you want to get to people to unlock their minds, the basic way to get them is through fear. That was a concept borrowed from the teachings of the Process Church. In a somber 1969 interview, Beach Boy Dennis Wilson spoke of getting the fear. In the same interview, he referred to Charlie as the wizard. While pondering the question of how Manson was able to exert such control, Bugliosi largely ignores a perhaps even more important question. Where did Charlie learn the techniques that he obviously was so skilled at?
I've got an idea.
Bugliosi notes only that it may be something that he learned from others, which of course is only stating the obvious.
Come on, Dave.
The question is not asked either in the book or at trial is who were these others?
Come on,
possible
Dave.
Answer can be found on the personnel at the Haight-Ashbury Free Clinic in the 1960s. We did it. We got there. 2 employees of the clinic, Dr. Roger Smith, a research criminologist who had started the clinic's drug treatment program, and Dr. David Smith, who founded the clinic itself, were both involved in government-sponsored research on human behavior. Both had connections to Manson and his followers. And in fact, Roger Smith was Charlie's parole officer.
Ooh.
And who did both of them work for?
Dr. Lewis Jolly on West, fam.
Right.
We got there. We did it, Reddit.
We got there. Yep. Anyway, another question never addressed by Bugliosi. Bugliosi, it's definitely Bugliosi, is how it was possible that
You're
a
the
man of
expert.
limited education, Mamma Mia, who had spent the majority of his life behind bars, somehow acquired those skills while U.S. intelligence agencies, after investing countless millions of dollars in decades of research aimed at attaining the very same goal, have allegedly met with nothing but failure. It defies explanation that men such as Manson or Jim Jones, David Koresh et al., had stumbled upon a secret that the CIA has yet to discover. Obviously, they didn't. It is patently absurd notion, and yet that it is exactly what we are supposed to believe. We are also supposed to believe that Charlie, while controlling the actions of others, was himself acting on his own free will. That is highly unlikely. If Charlie was in fact controlling the family, the logical question is to be asked at the trial was, who was controlling Manson? Was Manson himself a puppet as well as a puppeteer? That question naturally was never raised and so remains largely unanswered to this day. Perhaps Bugliosi felt the question unimportant, given that, according to his book, the Manson case was and remains unique. Dr. Roger Smith saw things a little differently. In December 1969, he told Life magazine, "There are a lot of Charlies running around. Believe me." The story of Charles Manson is an endlessly fascinating one. It is also a story that is difficult to tell in a linear fashion because Charlie and his victims were connected to so many people on so many different levels.
You almost need something new. You need something new. You need something called network analysis.
Yes. Well, really, that is where you would jump off and read Chaos. But okay, we are going
back to the top.
We are going to leave it there at page 146. Numerologically analyze 146, if you will. But don't do it right now. So, yeah, that's it. Thanks for joining us. Yes. I'm alarmed by your name, Lucifer Lucero, but yes, believe in Jesus.
That's what we got. What we got for shells? Yeah.
What do you got coming up, Sandbatch?
Book's going to be out on the 20th.
Books out on the 20th. I guess you'll have a link available on the 19th.
I'll have a link available in the next day or so.
All right. Well, we'll share it on our next show as well.
You're going to play us out, Jolly?
I think Jolly's going to play us out. You can find me. I'm probably going to be recording another episode with Pete Quinones and also with Book Club from Hell. There is a sidebar episode coming out in February. We will see you on, I'll see you on Drive Time Movie Night. Granite Mountain Movie Club is joining us this Wednesday for a Latvian rock opera. See you then.
You're discouraged from questioning and thinking critically. You must accept the word of the leaders. They make you feel guilty if you do question or argue. Your environment is often controlled, cutting you off from friends, family, school, previously held beliefs. They want you to become dependent, provide a poor diet, poor health care, little sleep, and long exhausting hours of work to make you physically weak and lower your ability to think clearly. Subtly, your self-confidence gets undermined, and your self-image or sense of identity is changed. The leaders control channels of communication. They cut off or put down outside sources of information. Then they bombard you with what they want you to think. They use strong peer pressure, playing on your desire to be loved and accepted. The leaders may promise rewards if you obey them and punishment if you don't, but they alternate harshness and leniency in order to confuse you. The leaders manipulate language, giving special meanings to words that only insiders understand. This is to make you feel like you're part of a special, important, or elite group, and that outsiders are inferior, dangerous, or doomed. You have to confess your shortcomings, mistakes, or misbehavior, sometimes even if these things never really happened. And meanwhile, your time and activities are tightly controlled. You don't have much privacy or energy or time to think because you're too busy doing monotonous, repetitive tasks. The leaders try to control you and even your sexuality, everything about you. They want to exploit you for their own enrichment, their own power or grandiosity, If they succeed, you will declare your loyalty unto its leaders, rejecting your old values and way of life. Without realizing it, you will have been changed into a person who is being controlled by a totalist cult.